Okay, I think we are on. Maria, can you tell if we're on?
Yeah, we're on. We're being recorded.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is February 6th, 2026, 3 o'clock. This is the Town Council Board of Finance Subcommittee for Public Safety and Emergency Services. We're going to start with police. Chief.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Sharing is not turned on. Do you have a ability to allow that?
Okay. Share screen. Okay. Did that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We will start first with our animal control budget that falls under the police, and it'll be a short couple of slides. Our FY27 animal control budget request is $93,491. That's mostly salary and benefits. And then the dog fund budget request is $22,009. I'll explain a little further on that. So as you can see, the animal control is $93,491. That is all of the salaries and benefits that the animal control officer receives. You want to mute that person?
So, all right, let me see. Somebody needs to mute.
And you'll see that all of the other items that were within this budget were reduced, taken out because they overlap with our operating budget. It just made sense just to move it over into our overall operating budget rather than have these small items listed here. So that's why they were all zeroed out, but they were incorporated into the overall police operating budget. And the dog fund. So this is the dog fund. It's got nothing to do with our police canine. Sometimes that gets confused. This is the revenue that's received from dog licenses from the town clerk side, as well as some other expenses within the dog, the animal control. He needs some for postage and mailers and things like that. You may remember last year it was removed from the budget, but Ann from finance department can explain it further at the full meeting. But through the auditor's recommendations, they asked to remove it. It was removed and put into the general fund. The auditors looked at that and said that was not appropriate, and it should have its own separate fund because there's money that comes in and money that has to go out, and it couldn't reside in the general fund. So that's why they carved it back out and put it back into this dog.
And that's
fund.
collected by the town clerk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what is the state remittance? What is that specifically? Do you know?
That is, I think, fees that they have to pay to the state for licensure. I'm not fully sure. Like I said, Ann can speak to these things a little bit more specifically why they're there, but I think those are fees that need to be paid to the state for licensing. And so the money comes into us, but part of it has to go to the state for licensing dogs.
Yeah, so I think we collected on behalf of the state, right? Basically, so
Yeah,
and we charge more to cover the other costs, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the town does have a small cut of
Right.
that, but I think the 15,000 is what is the state's cut of that.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for the animal control. If there's no
Is that running pretty well, Chief? The whole animal control side?
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Sean, John is our animal control officer. He does a great job. He's working hard, patrolling the parks and everything that the animal control officer does, and some wildlife, coyotes and that sorts of thing. But he does a great job for us.
Are most of the
Great.
dogs licensed? I mean, is there anyone can you tell if there's an unlicensed dog? And if
There are, but that's part of his job too. If
Okay,
a dog
right.
is roaming and it's not licensed.
Right.
But it really helps out when a dog gets out or something.
Yeah.
You could look up the license, figure out who the owner is, and return the dog to the owner pretty quickly. So it is very helpful when to have the dog's license. But I think we have pretty good compliance in town.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, moving on to police operating side. Just a quick snapshot of what last year looked like for our calls to service. As you can see, over 14,500 calls for service, ranging from all things. This is just a small sample of the type of calls that we go on. Jumping into our operating summary, our operating request is 8.373. Large part of that, 87% of our budget is salaries and contractual obligations. 7.286 is all related to salaries. Overall, this is a 3.8 increase from FY26 budget, but as you'll see in the coming slides, I can explain a lot of that. We did take over some budgeting items from IT, and some of our service contracts went up significantly. So just taking a closer look at salaries, you can see on the top there in that yellow portion, that's our proposed salaries. Those are just the salary line items, salaries and benefits. Those are all the things that we're obligated to pay our staff. And then down below, I carved out from above those 5 overtime items. Overtime is always something that's looked a little closer at, so I wanted to sort of highlight that sort of cost of what we incur in overtime costs. And our operating budget allows us, in FY25, we increased from 47 sworn officers to 50. That was to accommodate the school resource officers.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're one of the few towns in the state that has sworn officers in all of our public schools, which is something that we're proud of. We're filling those roles with really good and qualified people that want to be in the schools. Additionally, we do incur long hiring processes and train up time. So it's not like we hire somebody and we get them out into our workforce immediately. Typically, if they're not certified, we have to send them to the police academy, which takes about 6 months. And then when we get them back, we train them for an additional 2 to 3 months with another officer. We call that our field training program. So they're not just thrown into a car and have to figure out the town on their own. We have them ride with a senior officer for 2 to 3 months. So it does take a considerable amount of time to get these officers onto the road.
Is 50 the right number, Chief, or do you need more, or what do you think the ideal number of sworn officers?
We think it's the right number, and I think if you look at the overtime, it doesn't necessarily equate to more numbers would reduce overtime. Some of the nuances with our contract require us to hire in certain situations where a lot of those are supervisory overtime and contractual overtime. So we do feel that 50 is the right number.
Okay.
Of course, we would always love more, but we realize that not realistic, and I don't know that would move the needle all that much. If we had 55 officers, I don't think that would change our overtime or anything like that in a significant way.
Are the new officers assigned to a specific unit, or
so new officers come in, they'll go through the training process, and then we have the ability to assign them a shift based on our needs. And usually we like to give them a well-rounded first year experience. So we'll put them on multiple shifts. We try to keep them off of the midnight shift, say, for example, because there's not a lot of activity. They don't get much experience. So we try to keep them in the day shift or the evening shifts or rotating shifts to try to get them as much experience when they're new, rather than just putting them off to the night shift and forgetting about them. So we do have some flexibility with the 4 least senior officers. We call them rotators, so that allows us to assign them where we see fit for the first few years. So looking a little deeper at our overtime costs and what drives our overtime, it's shift shortages. The good news is that we've seen a decrease in some of these numbers. A 27% discount in shift shortage. And we get all this data from our scheduling software. It's called POS, Police Officer Scheduling System. And it's very helpful for us. We can run reports pretty quickly and get a good idea of where our costs are going and where they're coming from. For example, training went up 13%, which is something good. We want to see more training, and that's a good expense in our opinion. You do see one outlier there, that our second supervisor went up significantly, almost 80% from last year. The good news is that this year we are seeing that number come down. So that's a little nuance with our staffing. In FY24, we only had 1 officer that was eligible to be an acting supervisor. We currently have 7 officers now. They participated in a promotional exam, and now that they're on that list, we have those officers spread out through our various shifts, and they can work in an acting supervisor scenario. So when there is a shortage of a supervisor, those officers can fill in. We don't have to hire back at an overtime rate. But in FY24, we didn't have those numbers, or FY25, we only had 1 officer, so that was a significant impact. But as I said, it's definitely improving this year with our 7 officers that participated in that promotional process. So although that number is big there, it is coming down. So we are trending in the right direction with our overtime. So again, if you just carve out those 5 lines, those 5 overtime lines, this is what our overtime request is. Not significantly higher from FY26. So we're comfortable with that number, and we think we'll stay within budget for that.
So could you just go back to that where you show the numbers?
Yeah.
Where we can see where that overtime would show up for that 80%, where that might have hit before. Not this one, the other one where you show your budget by line item.
This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, oops, sorry.
So where would that number show up in the
For the
salaries?
So for so those categories that I showed before, those were in our scheduling software. They're not necessarily the same description as they are in our line item budget. So those shift shortage overtime numbers would generally come from salaries overtime, or salaries overtime sick, or injury, or so those could come from a variety, all 5 of those pretty much. But you can see in the past those numbers are pretty high, but they are trending downward. So let me advance here.
Is that because of the software that you're able to track more accurately?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've been able to do that for a few years. We've had this software for a while. But as I said, the categories that you see here are what is in our scheduling software. So it's not exactly what you'll see in the budget line items. They could come from all of those overtime line items. One area that's that we're always looking at is administrative. That's sort of a catch-all for us, a miscellaneous category. That's something that we analyzed pretty closely. And some of the things that we found in there that were costs that we're going to carve out and maybe a little different, again, within our scheduling software. Some of that includes overtime when officers on goes for scheduled doctor's appointments for workers' comp injuries. We want to carve out and identify because we're reimbursed from the state from some of those expenses. So,
Oh, right. Okay. Makes
so although
sense.
they do show as a cost in our schedule here, they are something that we want to identify and sort of carve out and put in a little separate category for us.
And where do we capture that in our budget? Like, is there a number that shows that reimbursement of that?
That's not within our budget because that doesn't come back to our budget. I think that goes, I'd have to ask Cheryl if that goes back to the general fund or where workers' comp reimbursement goes. I'm not sure where that lands, but it does not come back to our budget.
Hey, just one question on that page again, the last page, Chief. I see the second supervisor has grown 80% from full year 24. Does that mean that we might need a second supervisor or another supervisor or not?
No, as I was describing, so
Yeah.
from FY 24 to 25, we had only one person that was eligible to be an acting supervisor. So it's that we need to hire more supervisors. We just need to have more people participate in the supervisory promotional process, which we did in late in FY 25, late last. So we are recognizing a downward trend in that category. So that's a good thing for us. Prior to that, we only had one officer that could fill that role.
Right.
Because we give
But
that
now you have
promotion.
more than one, you're saying now, right?
Right. Yeah. Now we have 7. So we give that promotional test every 2 years. So that should last us. And we're in a good position now with 7 officers in that category.
Okay, great.
Another large increase for us is utilities and service contracts. Our utilities being back in the new building or in the new building, we are getting these numbers from Public Works in the building department. So, it'd be nice to be in the building for all 4 seasons for a full year, and then we can see really what our utility costs are.
But it's great. It's great to see, Chief. Hi, I'm Nick here. Sorry I was late. Oil, propane, gasoline is down.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to go be a lot more efficient than it has been in the last few years, which is good to see. So we're hopeful in that'll show us some good savings for some energy efficiency.
How do you guys like the new building overall right now?
It's great. Yeah, it's really great. It's nice to have just a state-of-the-art building and a place for everything. And the officers really enjoy the clean locker rooms, healthy showers that are not flies, and actually purpose-built booking and detention area that meets today's standards, that's safe. So it's everything seems to be working great. A few minor kinks, as you could imagine, with some of our HVAC systems and some of the plumbing, but those are relatively minor things. But overall, very, very happy with the space.
The tour I took right after you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just morale should be pretty good then, right, with the new building now?
Hopefully, morale is a day-to-day thing. So, but we'll see. We'll see where the contract negotiations go. That's
right.
Got it.
As far as the physical space, the morale is high on that. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the tour I took was amazing. It was beautiful. The building looked
Yeah.
great.
To have a great locker room, a great workout facility, you know, a nice place to do roll call and do their reports where the day-to-day officers have to work. It's been very good. Yeah.
When are the contract negotiations up?
We're in the
You're in the middle now,
negotiations right
okay.
now. We're towards the end. We're hopeful that we'll get a tentative agreement soon. We had a meeting this week,
Okay.
and we're close. We're just not there yet.
And how many years is the,
Yep.
yeah, sorry.
It's good for 3 years, so we're already half a year into it more.
Mhm.
It expired July of 25. So,
Okay.
so we'll have hopefully a good 2.5 years out of this contract that we're negotiating now.
Great.
So, big item, big increase is our service contracts. That went up 92% to 250,000. But if I could just explain some of that. So these items here, we inherited from the town hall IT department. They asked us to take over some of these licensing costs. You can see the Microsoft licensing, the migration of our accounts. Those are all of our email accounts. We have 50 officers that need email, 50 plus that need email accounts and that sort of thing. The data backup for the rubric is significant cost. So these are all things that we took from town IT that were never in our budget before. So that accounts for 75,000 of that increase. And
So
then
this is part of your 3.8% growth is due to this taking over this expense. So it'd be less if you didn't take over this expense, you're saying?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, this is something that had historically resided in the
Right.
Chris Kaiser's
Right. You just
his
inherited.
budget. So we
Yeah.
Yeah.
took it from his budget and moved it over to ours.
Okay.
Do you guys know, Board of Finance, when we're gonna talk about the IT budget? The town IT?
I don't think it was scheduled. I don't think it was scheduled yet.
Because we want to see the corresponding decrease, right, on their side that pushes over the police department.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about
That's what I
that
was
at our
thinking.
meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know if Chris's budget reflected these or these were going to be increases that he hadn't anticipated. So I don't know if these were in his budget last year. So I don't want to speak out of turn. But I know that all of these licensing fees and contracts and service agreements have been increasing annually. So I don't know what the costs were last year for his group, because we have licensing requirements for our security. We have to be compliant with the FBI and the licensing and security agreements. So some of those are increases that I don't know if Chris initially had last year. So I like I said, I don't want to speak at a turn.
Just to that point, Chief, just this price also includes a lot of one-time setup fees that I would imagine Chris isn't going to show because he's already had it. But for us to take it over, like the Microsoft account, there's a $24,000 one-time fee to set that up, or a $7,200 one-time fee for another system. So that our cost here reflects those one-time fees. So going forward for us, the number should be lower than it is this year, but it may not be an exact, deduction from their side because we have to account for those.
Okay. But that fee should be pretty stable going forward. It's an annual
Yes.
cost that should be pretty stable going forward. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at their IT budget and they're showing a 245,000 reduction in service contract. So it sounds like they do the same thing in corporate. They charge the cost to the users, if you will, instead of sitting on it at centrally, which then looks like, wow, you're costing a lot of money. Well, no, we're just incurring the cost on behalf of the users. So it's just
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's exactly why he wanted to do that.
Okay.
And then these are our internal service contracts. A lot of these things manage our software, our requirements for the fingerprint system, recording software, the BEI holding, that's our internal camera system when we have a booking and interview. So a lot of these are state mandated requirements. Our body worn cameras, our in-car video cameras, those are required by state legislation. Our mobile data terminals, the MDTs, those are our computers that are in all of our officers' cars. The modems for those to connect. All of these things keep showing an annual increase and keep going up and up with these service agreements.
Chief, what is Flock?
Flock, that's our license plate camera system that's in town. We have 14 cameras plus 8 downtown cameras.
So is that an annual license fee?
That's an annual license agreement. So the cameras, we don't own them. We lease them. So if anything happens with the cameras, they'll come out and fix them, replace them. So we don't have any ownership of the hardware. This is a licensing agreement, contract agreement to run the equipment, to service the equipment, and also the software platform that we use that houses the data for us to retrieve.
Where are they?
They're all throughout town.
They're all
yeah,
okay.
they're all
So it's
throughout
not,
town.
all right.
Yeah. I was just thinking it's over 50K if it's a capital budget item, but if it's a software license, we can't capitalize that.
Good point, Nick, and thank you for bringing that up. So historically, it has shown up in our capital budget in previous years. But because we're now into the second, third, fourth year of operating these are now a service agreement. They're not the initial costs. So they were in my capital budget last year and the year before. Now we're moving it over into our operating side.
Okay.
So that all of our internal service agreements totals 176. So that, along with the 75 from the previous page, totals the 250,000 increase in our service contract line.
Yeah, just the push from IT and Flock now no longer capitalized explains all, and then some of the 120 overrun, if you will, or the increase.
Exactly. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, so was Flock not an expense last year? You're saying, Chief? It was total capital.
It was in the capital side.
Right, it was in the capital. So it was 0 going to 67,000 in the operating expense.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
so the 67 plus 75, that's 130,000. So Nick, like you said, right? That's all explains all the growth from 129,000 to 250.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep, got it. Okay.
So this is a slide I like to show. This is where we showed no increases or a reduction. I think everybody always shows where they're going up, but so we did try to hold our budget flat or reduce some areas. Looking at our actuals from the last 3 years, we want to keep a smart budget and keep it realistic. So where we saw areas that we could reduce some of our budget or keep it flat, we tried to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see these areas that we did that.
Great.
If there's no other questions on operating side, I'll move over to capital. So our capital request is for pretty much the standard equipment. Police vehicles is 300,000. That's for 3 cars. So that includes the cars, the upfit, all of the costs associated with the new cars. From guidance from finance department, we were asked to put that all into one line for police vehicles. We had before had them, I think, in 3 different lines for vehicles, the equipment, and the upfit costs. And said it would make more sense on the finance side to have that all in one bucket. So that's why you just see police vehicles. And then the other is our usual requests for bulletproof vests, radio replacements, mobile data terminal replacements, some of the costs of patrol rifle replacement. We're not getting brand new rifles. We're just getting new parts to service our existing ones to get those up to date. Adding some defibrillators and some medical equipment. It's not just defibrillators, but it's some additional medical equipment. And then one large increase is the taser replacements. Last year it was 17,000. We're going up to 150,000. The reason being is because Axon, the company that owns Taser and distributes our tasers, is sunsetting the model that we currently have. And unfortunately, these are pieces of equipment that require software updates and maintenance. So they are sunsetting the model that we currently have. So we're needing to go to a newer model. They do have several programs where you could go into more of a less a payment plan of a 5-year payment plan, but that's $50,000 a year. And at the end of the 5 years, that would have cost us $250,000. So instead of doing that, we would like to just purchase all new, the new models and outfit our officers. We tabled this from last year because last year we were switching to the new handguns. We didn't want to overburden our officers with 2 brand new pieces of equipment. So we pushed it from last year to this year, but we're due because, like I said, the company is sunsetting their support for the model that we currently have.
Does every officer carry a taser?
Every patrol officer does.
Patrol
Yeah,
officer,
yeah.
right. And the SROs?
The SROs do too.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
And what happens to the used equipment then? Like, is there any secondary market on any of that or not?
I don't think so. We could sell them back to them. I don't know if they refurbish them. They kind of have
What a racket, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of a monopoly on these. There's not a lot of competition out there for them. They are the industry standard. It is an expectation for officers to carry these because they are the less lethal use of force. We certainly don't want to take that tool away from our officers, certainly in today's climate. But it is important that we maintain the current version of the piece of equipment.
Chief, do you happen to know if fire and police use the same vendor for mobile portable radio equipment?
Great question. And I know Russ is coming up next and can speak a little further to that, but we are investigating switching to another brand. And I know that fire is experimenting with that. So right now we use Motorola, again, another company that's really monopolized the radio industry.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to steal Russ's thunder or Albie's, but I believe that the fire department is going to investigate using, is it Kenwood radios?
Kenwood, correct.
So Kenwood radios could be a good option at a significant reduction in cost. So we are exploring that, and hopefully we'll see that they'll be a good fit for us. They'll work well as the Motorola radios, and we can recognize some cost savings in that next year.
Is that what other towns are using? Is that common with like the state system or like, no, it's not? Yeah.
Sorry, I just came from a fire.
Yeah.
Good day. Not in our region. Everybody in our region is using Motorola's, but in the Eastern Connecticut, we're seeing a lot of people switching to Kenwoods. They're nearly half the price. So if they shake up, we're buying 4 with the firehouse. If they shake out and they work well, then that's a home run. So,
Okay.
so we're buying 4 to test them out. They're all bands to see how they do. And then we'll report back to the other departments because everybody from DPW to police to EMS all have the public safety radio. So hopefully find some cost savings there.
Yeah,
It's
that'd be great.
a project I've been trying to lead along with some other things.
So cost savings for us, plus we can then move those items, combine them, move them over to bonded.
Yeah, there's been discussion about that. Radios in general, I think that's something maybe not this year, but next year we certainly should look at because you do gain. We're still small fish at the end of the day, unfortunately. So we don't get, like the state of Connecticut has a lot more leverage when it comes to purchasing power. That said, we get their rate, But when you bulk buy things, they do tend to be a little bit better about pricing. So I think we can start to investigate across all the departments, managing that and trying to optimize. Plus we just, as the project I was leading with the all bands for the Motorola's that we bought some of, that's a common template across police, fire, and EMS. So we're actually potentially saving money on programming too, because then it's one programming template across all of the services.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So again, explain a little further detail that what we're looking to purchase with our budget request. And this breaks down the vehicle costs. So this is for 3 vehicles, the radio, the lights, the upfitting, and that's the $300,000 cost. So that includes everything for a fully outfitted vehicle, start to finish. And we are on in a good place with our vehicles. We've transitioned over the last couple of years to the Chevy Tahoes from the Ford Explorers. Ford became difficult to work with a few years ago, just in purchasing the vehicles and then purchasing parts for existing vehicles. The time frame and the lead time on the vehicles and the equipment was unacceptable, and we were able to transition over to the Tahoes, which seem to be working very, very well. They're much more reliable than the Fords were, and they seem to be working well with us. So we are on right now we're on a 3-car a year cycle, and that seems to be a good fit for us. And again, as I explained in previous years, we get the most we can out of our vehicles. So we'll buy a new vehicle, we'll outfit it for patrol. Once it reaches its end of useful life in our patrol section, we'll transition it to a secondary role. Perhaps the SROs will take it, or it'll be a training vehicle that officers can take for training, or something that's not a frontline use. And then as it ages out of that, we'll see if anybody else in any other town departments needs it. I think Chris Kaiser drives one of our old Tahoes around. And so we try to squeeze as much as we can out of these vehicles and get as much use out of them until they're basically no value left in them. The ones that we do trade in, we only get maybe a couple thousand for, if that. So we do try to get as much as we can out of all these.
When do you retire them? Like at how many miles do you retire them?
And that's kind of the tough thing. So it's miles, but it's also hours of use. So generally around that 800 to 100,000 mile range is kind of where we see it ends being useful to us. Because it doesn't sound like a lot of miles in some of today's cars, but you got to understand that car is out on the road running 24/7. It may not be putting a lot of miles on, but it's got a lot of engine hours, and a lot of use. So that's typically where we start to see these starting to be not cost effective to keep in our fleet anymore. And we work very closely with the highway department. They tell us what vehicles are costing too much to upkeep, and based on their recommendations, we'll phase a car out of service and move it on to a different function or out of our fleet entirely, because we work closely with them and they track the costs of the vehicles very closely for us.
Chief,
And how do you
is the difference in upkeep maintenance costs, Chevy versus Ford so far?
Captain Ferenga can speak to that because he manages our fleet, but the costs seem to be better for the Tahoes because they seem to be a little bit more reliable. We were seeing some problems with the Fords, water pumps and engine mounts and those sorts of things, and they were down for a long time because we weren't the only ones seeing the problem with the vehicles. These were fleet vehicles across the country, so the demand for the parts was very high, and it was very difficult to get the parts. But I don't think we're seeing that same trend with the Tahoes.
No, we've had good luck with the Tahoes and the fleet being primarily all new. Our patrol fleet, I think there was one vehicle of the 11 new Tahoes that had one significant issue that had to be resolved, but it was a warranty job. And other than that, the feedback from the officers has been great. And like the chief said, we work really closely with Fred and his team at the highway, and they keep the cars running tip top. And other than routine maintenance, checking the oil, we've been really lucky with them. They've been performing well.
Right. Lower cost vehicle, lower maintenance.
Yeah, if we get the oil changed every 3,000 miles, that seems to be the golden ticket. If we can keep maintenance up on that, and they seem to be running well for us, Gunwood. And then this is just a little snapshot. This is the bill that requires us to have our body cameras. All officers are required to have body cameras, and every frontline vehicle is required to have a in-car video camera. So it's a state requirement. It's pretty much an unfunded mandate. They do have some funding back to communities, but we don't get a lot of that. But it is something required, but it is something that's turned out pretty well for us too. It's good to have video. It does save our officers if they're ever accused of anything.
Right.
It's nice to have our own video rather than somebody's cell phone video that they can edit. We can have, we can show the full version of what transpired. So it is a benefit to us. It is something that's it's a significant cost, but we think it's well worth it. That's all I have. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer.
Oh, sorry. No, Chief, we talked about this earlier, but the town council potential leaf blower ordinance and.
Which is thankfully not a budget item.
Right, it's not. But in terms of enforcement, we were wondering how much, of a burden this would be on you. And it sounded like you would handle it just like the noise ordinance. So
it's difficult to say, not knowing what the ordinance will be. And I imagine it being new, it may be a bit of a lift for us, but I can just say that I would envision it being enforced the same way that we enforce the current noise ordinance. If somebody has a noise complaint, they call us, we go and ask people to turn off the noise or quiet down the party or whatever the noise complaint is. And 99.9% of the time we get voluntary compliance. So that's what I would hope for with this leaf blower potential ordinance. So again, not knowing the specifics of it and what it will be. And, I imagine there'll be some learning curve to it, but we would certainly be able to handle that if that was the case.
Yeah. We don't know what the penalties are. That hasn't been figured out yet, but we were thinking like, a grace period before someone actually gets fined. And we're, we're hoping that
even if the fines were on the books, we generally want voluntary compliance before we ever fine anybody anyway. So we would certainly be accommodating to that.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. Anybody else have questions?
We always
Chief,
ask, and Todd always asks, right? Do you have everything you need, Chief?
Yeah. I believe so. We could always take more, but like I said earlier in the budget, I want to build a smart budget. I don't want to just ask for more than I know that we need. I try to go back and look at what we've used in the past and keep our budget as flat as possible.
Right.
I know that I have an increase, but I think I've explained the reason for those increases. But we do look at our budget closely and try to keep it with what we need and what we can operate efficiently with. And I think we're doing that. And I think we're doing a good job with that. Our officers out there are doing a great job with what they have. But if there was something that we needed, we would certainly ask for it.
You're certainly holding the line on the staffing side. It's not growing particularly large. And, with the negotiations, it sounds like, that's being held pretty tightly.
Yes. Yeah. We're getting close with that too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service to this town. As we always say, we come for the school system. We stay because we feel it's a safe and great place to live. So thank you for, having all of us stay beyond our kids graduating from the school system. We appreciate it.
I will say on behalf of the officers, you're welcome. It's not us at this table that do that. It's the people that you see out on the road in the uniforms, our officers in the schools.
Yeah.
that carry that burden. We sit in offices all day and write budgets, so.
Yeah, yeah, I don't believe that, chief.
Women in the uniform out there, those are the ones that deserve the thanks.
Right.
I would never take it for
And
myself.
I'm just
but
curious, how many women do you have on the force now? And like, is it,
seven right now?
and compared to how many, has that increased over the last couple of years?
Yeah.
Really?
That was one of the significant drivers of the new building. Was our old building didn't have enough locker room space.
Right.
Now we have enough female locker room space for 20 officers.
Wow.
So they're doing a great job. Kelly Coughlin was one of our great investigators. She does our social media.
Yeah.
SRO that's at South School is Marie
Nope.
Castro.
Okay.
She's another young officer that took over the
Right.
role this year at South School. So they're doing a fantastic job for us. All of them are.
Yeah. Very grateful for keeping us safe.
We're very proud of them.
Yep.
By the way, chief, if we exclude the IT department cost shift to you and your flock, your budget only increased 2.1% year over year.
That's why you're here, Nick, to make me look good. I love it. I like the financial numbers. All right.
That's good.
Make sure you emphasize that on Tuesday night.
What I will do.
All right.
And animal control was in there too, right?
Some of that was not a significant
Yeah.
add to our operating budget, but some of those smaller
Yeah.
items, I don't think that changed the percentage that much, but.
Okay.
Great. Well, good
Thank
luck with
you.
the negotiations too, also. Best wishes.
All right.
Hopefully that gets resolved soon.
Yes, that would be great. That would be a significant boost for morale if we could get moving on that.
Yep.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll correlate their comment about the Ford Explorers. My Ford Explorer has been out of service for a week now, waiting on a window
Oh.
regulator part, which they just can't find, apparently. So
How old
thanks.
is it?
Brand new. It's like 2 years old,
Oh,
but it broke. I guess it was too cold. It froze. It broke. The window went down. I couldn't get it up. And
No.
thanks to our friends in New Canaan EMS who have lent me their flight car in the meantime. That's why I'm driving the ambulance around. Yeah. It's been very confusing people when I go to fire scenes and they see that, but.
have a nice,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend.
Bye.
This is not that far. I did EMS for like 3 years, so. Hi,
Russ,
how is everyone?
Good. How
we're
are you?
okay. Yeah.
This is
Thank you for
quick-
coming in.
As quick as I could clear the fire scene,
Yeah.
shower and get back to present.
Hopefully it wasn't a big issue,
Yeah.
Russ.
House under construction, cause under investigation, but it was a very good stop by the fire department.
Oh,
And
good.
thanks to our mutual aid partners from Darien and Stanford and all over who came to help us out.
Ross,
Nice.
is it just my perception, or did we have more fires so far in the last, let's say, 6 months than prior years?
I can't say empirically, but it sure feels like it. And I think it's because we've had a real winter. We've had real cold temperatures and, it's been a couple of years since we've had snow and freezing and everything else. So I don't have the exact data, but it certainly feels that way.
Yeah, I remember we were asking fire last year, how many fires you guys put out, and I think it was 4.
Yeah, we've had that many in the last couple of months. So,
Exactly. So it is more. Okay. Interesting.
hi. So Russ Kimes, Emergency Management Director, with the budget request for emergency management. I think everyone's familiar with the mission of emergency management, protecting lives and property. So I don't think I need to go into too much of that. There's a lot that goes into it besides me just calling people at odd hours of the day and telling them what's going on in town. Emergency management. So training that I've led or completed. So I led a joint state of Connecticut, Westchester, Fairfield County drill for communications interoperability at Waveney, which was great. And it's actually the first time I think that the Westchester, the state, everybody had come together, which has actually laid the groundwork for a really good relationship that we're exploring whether we as a town should move to the state radio system or not, which I'll get into later, which a lot of our peers have done. But anyways, increasing preparedness, or not only for the three counties, but because it's in New Canaan, really benefiting us as well, because getting that here. I partnered with Albee with Fire to do training to use the CERT team, the Community Emergency Response Team, for major fire department deployments, which just happened today. So they get automatically called out, and they help this out in this particular scene with traffic management, because we had to shut down 106. And then I have also completed the All Hazards Communications Technician course, which is part of my own professional development as I manage the town's public safety radio system, as well as it just helps me, whether it's I'm wearing my fire hat or my emergency management hat or other. And for point of clarification, I serve as volunteer as assistant fire chief, which I've been a volunteer for 27 years. I am paid as the emergency management director, and part of my salary is also that I wear the hat on Mondays as a fire code inspector and fire investigator.
Is that why you were involved today's fire?
No, it's because I'm the volunteer assistant chief.
Ah, okay.
So I'm second in command of the fire department, which is both sides paid and volunteer. But I do that as a volunteer, which I've done for.
Thank you.
Yeah, but the fire marshal stuff is new, and that's why part of my salary is actually, I'll talk about it, isn't there, because I went to be certified as a fire marshal. So I work with Paul and do building compliance, and then I also do fire investigations. So every time there's a fire, we have to do the actual investigation afterwards. So. Other things that have occurred. So here we see in the upper left-hand corner, that's us leading the Community Emergency Response Team training exercise. In the upper right is public education that I partner with the Voices Foundation, the Center for Resilience, which is across the street, the 9/11 Voices Foundation, for a community preparedness presentation. And then the one on the bottom is actually the regional, as emergency management director, I sit on the regional emergency preparedness and planning team, which is across all of the Region 1, so 14 municipalities, all of the EMDs. And that's a regional asset. That's a vehicle barrier system, which we have employed at Caffeine and Carburetors and a couple of other events to improve safety. Unfortunately, vehicle-borne attacks are a thing, and in partnership with our friends from police, it's an asset that we're now leveraging, which we wouldn't have been doing before. We christened the new Emergency Operations Center this year with the opening of the police department. We now have a dedicated space for the EOC, which is great. That has been something, and this is all was covered under the PD renovation budget. I had to buy some computers and some phones, but little odds and ends. So it's a permanent facility. It's been an after action item in every major event. Sandy, Irene, Isaias, that we would take stuff out of a closet, break it. It wouldn't work because it needed to download updates. And of course, that's the moment you need to be doing the thing. Yeah. So that's been great. And it's also a great multi-purpose room that PD and CERT and others have been able to leverage as well. Other major initiatives and accomplishments, I led the Town Hall Safety Improvements Project. So last year you approved, it was an executive session, but we did a Town Hall Safety Improvements, which is the Alertus system, which is an act for it specifically for active threat, but also can be for tornado warnings, weather warnings. So very similar to what you see in the public schools, where it notifies of a lockdown or whatever else. So I drafted the town emergency response protocol, led the training in partnership with HR, police, fire marshal, led the training for all of our town employees. And now the campus, this building, the Vine Cottage, and the health department have this system. So heaven forbid we have an active threat or something like that. It will notify employees, it will splash on their screens, and people have been trained to know what to do in that kind of a threat. Unfortunately, this is the world.
I'll be on the, sorry.
We did. No, was that a question?
No, sorry. Go ahead. My apologies.
Okay.
Russ. Keep going.
Quick question. The Alertus system, how does that tie into Everbridge when it comes to?
Doesn't, two different things. So Everbridge is the notification tool. So
Yeah.
that's how we do emails, phone calls, and texts. Alertus is an actual physical. You'll see the beacons. They're yellow beacons on the door. There's installed software. So that's a notification for town employees and people in the building.
Okay.
It makes an announcement, lockdown, shelter in place, whatever it might be.
All right. So like if something happens at the schools,
Separate. They have
that's
their own.
totally separate.
I have offered to the schools, and I don't know if they're going to pursue it, but the license that we have for this for town hall, I did present it to their crisis advisory board. I brought it to the schools as well to say, hey, we have this system at town hall. We're implementing it, and it has up to, I think the license has up to 8 buildings, so it doesn't care how many pieces of equipment. They do it, the licensing by building. So we're only using 3 of the 8, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to pursue that. I think they may be going another way. I believe I saw in one of the presentations. So, but it's been a success for us, and it was really as a result of employees in particular were asking for it, and they were incredibly appreciative that we led this project and accomplished it. And you'll see that's actually really, I think the only reason that my budget is up year over year is because of this system, because I'm paying for the annual fee for it. So I'll get into that in a bit. Okay, so overall, the other thing is really big here is that everything got shuffled. So accounts got moved at the request of Ryan, who's the budget director, to normalize our accounts. So as to what I mean by that, and I'll show you here, is a lot of things got moved into different buckets. So I didn't have fire security and maintenance before. I didn't have office equipment lease. I didn't have communications. I didn't have software. All of that stuff was in service contracts before. And so Ryan asked me to break it out so that when he's looking from a top-down perspective, he can see, oh, we pay X in software. So the key change here is, as I said, the service contracts line, which was 17,500, is gone, and it has been moved across software, fire security, office equipment, communications, printing, and billing. The increased expenses are due to the Alerta system. So the annual subscription is $6,890 for the up to 8 buildings and unlimited devices, plus 160, I can't remember the exact number, computer licenses. So it shows up on the computers themselves. And then because we have all these devices in town hall, Chris Kaiser reallocated everybody's share of the wide area network. So every department head pays for their share of the IP addresses that are used. So because we have a bunch more devices, I went from $500 a year up to $2,000 a year. And that's basically, I get that number from IT. I don't decide it. They just tell me that's what it is. I decreased the training line by 1,000. I've been really successful at getting free training from the state and from the federal government. So that may eventually end up going down again because so far I've been successful in getting it. I don't know though, with the uncertainty with FEMA, a lot of that is FEMA-based training, and with this, there's a lot of unknowns there. So that may go away, in which case we'll make do. Repairs, I decreased by $500. Historical averages, I haven't spent it. The repairs include, I have the Ford, as you hear, that's not working, which really I have it as the assistant fire chief, but now that I'm a full-time employee, I use it as emergency manager and also fire code inspector because, I could go at 3 o'clock in the morning to investigate a fire. So maintaining that, oil changes, we have a animal and a person shelter trailer that we have custody of. It's a state asset, but it's ours to use, so we maintain that. And then the big orange variable message board signs that you see Highway Department put out there, those are actually, we bought those through emergency management, so I maintain those. I decreased meals and events because don't need it, and I decreased uniform and equipment because we're doing good, so don't need it. And when I talk about uniforms and equipment, that is largely supporting the CERT team. So reflective vests, ANSI vests, things like that. So the service contracts, to give you the exact breakdown, how that 17.5 got reallocated. So software subscriptions is Everbridge is the big one. It's a flat rate. I think we're on year 3 of a contract, $8,495. That is no matter how many text messages or emails. It used to do it kind of like credits. I don't want to say, but it's kind of like you used to see cell phones. They would say, oh, if you use so many credits, you get an overage. That's gone. They went to a flat model based on our historical usage. What's great is we're really leveraging this tool now. It used to be just for emergency alerts, but I led the project where now the town news from Town Hall Deanna newsletter comes off of that. The Tiger Man, DPW notifications, health department. We just onboarded the food pantry. So there's a bunch of communication. And the benefit of us doing it, A, we're already paying for it, and it doesn't matter how much we use it. And B, people who sign up for those other subscriptions, I get them in emergencies. So it's a win-win across the board. The $300 is a weather app that I use at the EOC on my phone and my laptop, which is incredibly valuable because weather is a big part of emergency management, and it's a really reasonable price. Fire security alertus, as I said, $6,890. New this year is a printer because I used to be right next to finance. And so I could use it, but then I got moved down to the fire marshal's office. Their printer did not work anymore. So it's a shared, basically myself and the fire department are sharing the cost 50-50 for the printer for both the fire marshal office and for me. And then communications is a regional partnership on what we call the Urban Area Safety Initiative, but UASI, which is a shared radio system on the state backbone that every one of the 14 towns, we all pay based on a per capita of the maintenance of it. And we use it for the 4th of July. We use it for major events. It's interoperable in case we're going across borders. And it also, and when the police department had the battery fire pre-renovation and our own radio system went down, we can use that one as our backup because it's separate infrastructure. So I do everything.
Russ, sorry, it's urban area what?
Safety initiative. And the reason it's called that is because that was actually the grant program under which the system was built out originally. They bought several hundred radios and then they built out the system on the state radio system. Radios were issued out to the 14 municipalities, and it was done through the UAS Urban Area Safety Initiative grant, which we no longer get. That went away. So, but that's the legacy of the name. That's why they call it UASI. We probably could come up with another name for it, considering we're naming it after the grant, but.
Let me ask you a question about alertus.
Yeah.
So that's only if an event happens at one of the town buildings.
Correct. The 3 town buildings right here.
Okay.
And then we may be expanding it to other buildings, just buy some more devices, like I said.
And then does that include cybersecurity too? Like if there's a hack
No.
or? No.
No,
okay.
it is a local area notification. Think of it like a fire alarm, but for lockdown, active threat, shelter in place, tornado warning. There's a bunch of other.
Okay.
So, and unlike a alarm system that goes to a central monitoring system. So if you think like my home alarm system goes to the central monitoring system and they call to check to see if things are okay. And then if it takes time before they call the police department, there is a beacon in the police department on the wall in the dispatch center. So the second it happens here, PD knows and they're on their way, which is a great safety benefit for us. So zero base, as you see, so I think I covered the software, communications, voice data. 1500 is the Country Club of New Canaan radio backhaul. So I manage, I cover the town radio system in my budget because it's used by multiple departments. So the radio system is used by Public Works, Police, Fire, EMS, and the CERT team. And the backhaul is we have repeater sites at various points in town, and they need an internet connection back to the brain. So that's just it's $100 and something a month for the cable modem. When I explained the cell phone is a cell phone because I'm on call 24/7. We have one Starlink, which is on my vehicle, which is removable, and that's the absolute fail-safe. I can take it out a window, run a cable in the window and the EOC, and if everything is gone, we can use satellite to run the EOC, run the phones, and be able to communicate with the outside world.
Okay.
And we've had that for a while now. We've had that, and it's a great capability because I hate to say it, you get a really big, horrible hurricane or a flood or something like that. Fiber cables can get washed out. Cell towers are going to go down. So that gives us a absolute Hail Mary that we can talk to the outside world. I gotta buy a new switch for the EOC call center. So CERT helps the volunteers from CERT man the 4100 line, 595-4100. So it's a phone bank of 10 phones, and residents can call in. And the idea we activate it when we activate the EOC is to shed the load off of 911 and calling the police department. People calling about when will my power be back, or there's a tree on the lawn or something like that. We get that out of 911 so that they can focus on true emergencies and that phone bank. So that's just, we need a new switch because the one that's on there apparently, according to Chris, is out of date, end of life, and hackable and all the things. I need to buy 2 phones for the EOC. So that's $200. And then uniform equipment, I said before, PPE for CERT, traffic control. That's operating. Questions?
No questions.
Very good. Capital, there's only one thing. That's it, which is the public safety radio system. So this has been a ongoing discussion. So it was history 2017, 18. We refreshed for $2.5 million, I think it was, our public safety radio system. The system itself before that was really old, really antiquated. Like we used to joke, it's probably had actual like vacuum tubes and things. So a good system was put in place, which is a VHF system. As with anything else, the components that run it, the 6 repeater sites, the brain itself, the console of the police department, the antennas themselves, over time, they age. Software needs to be updated. It's a digital system so that there are new updates to software and patches. So we had, and it's terminating in June, a 5-year contract with Motorola, which is called an advanced replacement. So they replace parts and components, software replacement, and 24-hour tech support. And previously it was in the 120,000, 130,000 a year range. The assumption being is, and I can't say Motorola, unfortunately, as they alluded to, you can't spell monopoly without Motorola.
Mhm.
They don't let me see the secret sauce of how they actually figure out the amortization schedule of
Mhm.
5 years and what parts and pieces are going. Much to my enormous frustration. So they came back with a new contract for a 4-year contract that was a 31% increase contract over contract. To be honest, Northeastern Communications, who's our vendor, I think was afraid to tell me it. And that's why I asked for it in July of this year and I got it in November, which was unbelievable. So we've had a lot of haggling and discussions with them back and forth. They managed to bring it down. I think it's to 21% or 26% contract over contract. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and they gave me the usual, oh, well, COVID and supply lines. I'm like, okay, stop.
Yeah.
That said, the way it works is we own the system. So either you don't replace stuff and at some point something will break and you'll have to replace it. And it was at the time it was a $2 million system. So you lose a repeater site, that's $1 million, right?
Mhm.
Nowadays in current dollars. So this is basically the system. This is the agreement that keeps it going. The sidebar here is, do we move to the state of Connecticut system? So all of we didn't go to the state of Connecticut system because at the time, nobody else had really done it yet. And there were a lot of concerns around control and everything else. All of our neighbors have done it. However, the problem is not to get totally technical, but we're on VHF and the state system is on 700 or 800 megahertz, which means that all of our little radios, the handheld radios, except for the all bands that I've been buying in dribs and drabs and getting people to buy, don't work on the system, which means you got to buy 300 radios. And then you got to change a lot of the equipment, the infrastructure itself. And it's not a small, we're talking millions to move from one system to the other. The question becomes, is the cost to carry, to maintain it, lower because we benefit from all of the towers that are around us? So yeah. Wilton, Stanford, all of them, it's all one giant network is the way to think of it. Think of just like your house with a mesh network, right? Mm-hmm. So we're doing the analysis right now. So I just got the first propagation, they call it propagation analysis, which says the computer models, okay, if you put a tower here, does the radio penetrate into the valleys and places and things? So it's ongoing. One of two things is going to happen. We're either going to end up sticking with the system we have now because it's just, we'd have to put so many repeater sites in. The capital cost to move to the state system wouldn't weigh out versus continuing to pay this. So the budget request I have here is for the worst case scenario, which is a 1-year contract. Their 1-year contract is more expensive than their 4-year contract. So while we figure all of this out, the request was for the 179, 216.75, which is the 1 year. I anticipate, if anything, we'll go down to the 169, 813 of the 4-year contract if we don't decide to move the state system. And if we decide to move the state system, it isn't happening this budget year anyways. So
how do we communicate with other towns with different radio systems?
That has been a giant problem since 9/11. And that was a big thing they learned in 9/11, which we are getting better at. So the all band radios that we purchased, Fire has been buying them. I've asked EMS and they bought a couple, and now whenever they buy a truck, they're going to make sure they have one. Those, what they call all band, can talk to everybody. So we're getting there. So that's how we're able to do it. And I led a project 2 years ago where I said, if I want to be able to talk to everybody, or I want us to be able to talk to everybody, if I'm going to do the work, everybody should benefit from it. So all 14 towns signed an agreement that I created and we led to basically to be able to share each other's frequencies. So that was a project that, yeah, is it directly for New Canaan? Yeah, we benefit from it, but it also benefits the greater region. So that's how we're doing it now, is the all bands, which has been great. I would personally, as a firefighter, I would love to see us move to the state system.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 reasons. It's 24/7 monitored. The state of Connecticut has professional engineers who actually know how to fight back. They're a bigger fish. They can push back against Motorola, whereas we really can't. We'll spend as much hiring a lawyer as we would just paying the contract. Safety wise, there's so much more capability on a digital trunk system versus our analog VHF system, but it's way too much money. Potentially, we'll see what happens with this research that I'm working on right now.
What about north of us, Vista, Pound Ridge, do you interface with them at all? And what is
Also,
that?
yes, we respond mutual aid to Vista and Pound Ridge. In fact, a couple months ago, I went up there for a fire. We went up that way and we can't talk to them. So there is an invisible force field we like to think of between Westchester. However,
Yeah.
the picture I showed you there, that training exercise at Waveney was Westchester. So I led that in New Canaan. So now we have a direct communication with them and we're going to fix this. So Westchester is partnering with us to allow us to use a specific band on there. So we're fixing it as a result of that exact exercise that I led at Waveney.
Right.
Yeah. So that's been a home run, and a big thanks to Bill Parrott, who's the new assistant chief. You'll see in a second, because he came from Westchester, so he knew the right people to call. Any
Hey,
other?
Russ, just going back to the capital request, which one do you prefer, the 1 year or the 4 year contract?
Well, I have our legal taking a look at this now. So they're looking to tell me what the break clause would look like. So if we went with a 4 year, what does it look like if we were to terminate it on year 2 if we decided to change? So I'm waiting for info on that. He called me back and then we had a fire and I got to give him a call back.
Okay. No, I'm just curious because obviously you want to do what you think makes sense here.
No, and like I said, I'd love to move the state system, but it's gotta be something where we're not, the future costs are lower and it's worth it and it makes sense.
Right. So you don't think we should do it right now. So that's why you're saying maybe the 4 year, but in case we want to move to it,
Correct.
you want a breakage. Got it. Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
And when will you
Okay.
make a decision to convert to the state system or not?
Oh, well, it wouldn't be this budget year anyways.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, we got a year to really dig into the
Okay.
weeds. So that's, I'm digging into the weeds right now and pushing people to give me an answer by March. So by town council, we can lower it to the appropriate whatever number. But we're not moving systems until next year anyways, because it would be a large capital project that you would want to bond anyways. And I've been trying to push Westcog to help me out to find if there's funding, but in the discussions I've had, there's just not. It used to be after 9/11, there was a lot of grant money for this kind of thing, and it's all gone, unfortunately.
And remind me, is it the same radio system that the police use?
So our
it-
system, our VHF system is police, fire, EMS, public works.
Okay.
The state system is a totally separate thing. Actually, the UASI system is on the state system. Wilton, Westport, Stanford, Norwalk, all those towns are on that system and all of their entities are on it. Public Works, all the same. So we have our own system. We own and maintain ourselves on an island, as it were. That's just our own system. But it made sense at the time, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a critical mass to jump on the bandwagon with the state system.
And when the other neighboring towns got on, they got some sort of funding to help them?
I don't believe so. Wilton paid. The nice thing is when you do a bulk change like this, you do get a better price for buying radios in bulk. I think the word they used was a forklift upgrade, forklift all the stuff in. You do get a better price for it, but it's still very expensive. But like I said, I'm going to continue and I'm going to take a note. And actually, it's been a while since I followed up with them. I'll follow up with Westcog to see if there's anything out there to shake the money tree. But unfortunately, a lot of the federal dollars that were like this, they've long since dried up.
Great.
But we're getting efficiencies. I guess this, you're supposed to advertise yourself in this. So we're getting efficiencies that because I'm doing this work, we're managing our radio system holistically as a municipality now, right? It used to, PD was doing some, fire was doing some, PD was doing a lot. We're looking at things like the radio. Should we buy them as a group? Let's use one template. Let's try the Kenwoods. Let's try something that's more cost effective and potentially does the same job. So that's a lot of stuff that I've really been trying to work on because I keep saying it in these meetings, I live here too, and I pay the taxes too. So.
Oh, a
Well,
question.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ. Question on the weather system that the modeling or whatever, the reporting system, is it the same as the schools get, like that Dr. Lutzy uses?
No, so
Or
there's a smattering of different people. So like Highway, I think has a service that they have a meteorologist that they know and trust, and they have a de minimis fee that they pay for them. This is actually it's a software, it's an app. It's a radar, and I can see the GFS models and everything else. But your point is valid, which is where can we find perhaps synergies to
Right.
let's get one across them. The one that I have, I did offer to Tiger for them to experiment. And I'm waiting to hear back whether it would displace the person they like for snow forecast or not. Back from the fire.
Yeah. No, because it's like, I always wonder, like, how accurate, when are you confident of what's happening before you send out a message?
24 hours to 48 hours. I mean, so I'm a weather nerd, I'm a nerd in general. I just admit this fact. But one of the great things about being an emergency management director is I have a direct line of communication with the National Weather Service. And so we actually had the New York office come to one of our quarterly emergency preparedness drills that we led here at Town Hall, and they presented to us. So I rely on them first because they are the best in the business. They're not driven by profit or selling advertisements, and they're very responsive to us. But there's some times where I want to be able to create products or things customly and be able to put them out on our Facebook or whatever. So that's where this $300 app software comes in for me.
Right. Yeah. No. Anybody else have questions?
All
That's
good.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Yes. And a great job by the fire department today.
Yeah.
They did a really good
Awesome.
job.
Okay.
But I guess just self-serving because I was also there, but
What street was it on?
Richards Lane.
Richards Lane. Okay,
Hey, John.
got it.
Yeah, how are you? Good to see you. Hi. Hi. How are you? Hi, Barb. I'm Janet. Chief, I think EMS is before, is that okay?
I'm fine as long
Yeah,
as they don't mind
okay.
me sitting here. I came in case
Yeah,
Russ is.
right.
'cause-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
If you guys don't want me sitting
Oh,
here.
yeah,
I'll-
sure. Okay, thanks, Maria.
Okay.
You guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thanks again.
You wondered where that went.
We love to share our resources
One team, one dream.
to a grateful recipient.
There hasn't been comments. Still want to play the game? Oh, really? Oh. Yeah.
Did you go by Barbara or Barbara? Barbara, okay.
Barb or Barbara?
Well, I usually go by Barb.
Barb, okay. Right. Like Barb Ackenbaum, like everyone knows Barb Ackenbaum. I just go by Barb, but I never want to assume.
Okay. That's good then.
Yeah. Right. Where were we whenever you
We're ready
guys
to go?
go?
Okay, Barb Clayton, the president of New Canaan EMS with John Knight. our
John Knight, treasurer.
And I thought I would just go quickly over
Sure.
some of our kind of a profile
Yeah.
of what we do and how we do it. Is that good?
Yeah, sounds great.
5 minutes. And this is all material that's been provided through the budgeting process. But so for those of you who may not have used our services, hopefully it's all of you in the room. But we are a 24/7, 365 days a year emergency medical service. And we are all volunteers, but we are also fully certified, and we are compliant with all state and national regulations. We receive monthly training to keep our certifications active. We not only respond to New Canaan residents, but we also respond to help out in other neighboring towns, mutual aid calls. We transport patients to Norwalk Hospital and Stanford Hospital. And we also, some of our members work in the medical field. They might be EMTs. We have a couple that work as EMTs in at Norwalk Hospital, part of their EMS service. And some are med techs in Norwalk Hospital, Greenwich Hospital, Stanford Hospital. So they are all getting experience in various areas of the medical field. We have some that have gone on to be nurses, nurse practitioners. We have one that recently became a midwife. So it's a very well-trained, and it's a very well-oiled machine. So some of the things we responded last year to over 1,700 calls which involved 1,800 patients. And that could be anything from a medical call, trauma, MV car accident. One of our crews delivered a baby in the field. We've had a couple of cardiac arrest saves. So it's a busy organization and a very professional organization. Proud to be a part of it. This all happens with 28,633 volunteer hours.
Yeah.
In 1 year. And that's from 54 active and probationary members. That includes the number of hours that you ride while you're on shift, and that might be a 12-hour shift every week, plus one weekend 12-hour shift. But it's also, we go to standby events in the community, caffeine and carburetors, the FCEC, athletic events, cross-country events. We go to standby at the football games. A lot of community events that we have an ambulance there that's staffed with a full crew in case there's an accident. We also teach CPR once a month at the library, churches, schools, and Stop the Bleed training for same organizations. So we do a lot more than ride our shift with the ambulance. So some of the accomplishments last year, we passed our biennial inspection for all our vehicles, equipment and supplies. We host a basic EMS training course annually. Starts in January, finishes in May or June. And we usually have 20 students involved in that. And from there, we hope to recruit a few EMTs for our service. We usually have 4 high school students, 2 juniors and 2 seniors, who learn a lot from us, but we also learn a lot from them. And it's kind of enhances our culture, I think. We have kind of a mentorship that happens. And those students, hopefully, our hope is that they come back and ride over their vacations, give us a break over Thanksgiving, Christmas, summer vacations. That happens to some extent, but some of them are going into the medical field, so they look for not only experience with us, but also clinical hours with doctors. So, we participated in some multi-agency EMS drills to enhance our interdepartmental coordination. And we purchased a couple multi-service radios. We're in the process of working with Russ Kimes for his Office of Emergency Management Services to improve our radio communication. We recently had some of our members, I went to that training that was offered by the fire department to talk about, Russ gave to talk about radio, how radios work, communications work, how they can be better, how far we've come. And then the new assistant chief gave a very interesting on-site what their communication is when they arrive at a scene of a fire and how we can understand how that happens. And we always go to as a standby medical unit when there's fire, active fire today, active one. So anyway, that's a little bit about what we do. Many questions about that.
So how big is your staff now?
We have 53 active EMTs. That includes some probationary members who are in the process of going into the active stage.
Yeah.
Right now, they act as a third member of a crew. A crew is 2 EMTs and 1 is a driver EMT, and then a probationary member.
And you said 4 high school students are
We have 4 high school. Well, right now we have just 1 high school student, but in the past we usually have 4.
Yeah.
2 juniors and 2 seniors.
I mean, it's just amazing how much volunteers you get. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's
a big commitment, the course.
It's a heavy
taking the-
lift,
Yeah.
and we tell people before they take the class,
Yeah.
if they're planning to join us. We like to know if they're planning to join us, and not everyone does plan to join us, and they do it for various reasons. We have some firefighters who take the course for their training there, or some police officers.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, sorry, how are you? How's everyone?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have, and that fluctuates, beginning of the pandemic or about a year before the pandemic, I was the president at that time and we had 26 EMTs. So we were struggling a little bit, but we made a bigger effort to advertise the training, and our best recruiters are the people who are active EMTs, because we invite our friend, they see what we do and they become a little bit more interested in what we do. So often that's how we get people to join the training class.
Right.
Good?
Yep.
Anything else? Questions?
And then
I'll go through
I
the
could
budget.
jump in briefly to review the budget numbers that at least that come from us. The first one is the paramedic contract. That's a 5-year contract with Norwalk Hospital, July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2028. So we're currently in the 3rd year of that contract, and fiscal year 27 will be the 4th year. It has a fixed annual price of $465,000 a year. That's paid directly by the town, and that's why there's no proposed increase. That number is fixed. The second number is the repairs mobile equipment, which is, from our perspective, it's vehicle repairs and maintenance. And so the town gives us a contribution toward our vehicle repairs and maintenance. And this year we were proposing a 3% increase in that, just sort of consistent with inflation. The next number is information services, and information services covers, we have 2 contracts with the Southwestern Regional Communication Center for 911 dispatching and tracking and patching services. The amount is actually determined by the communication center, and it's divided up among the covered towns and cities. So for fiscal year 27, the number is the 64,875. So it's only a 0.6% increase from last year. And then the 4th number is medical supplies. We get a contribution again from the town toward our medical supplies and equipment. And this year we're proposing a 5% increase. That's in part because under the paramedic contract, we're obligated to reimburse the paramedics for their supplies. When we initially started with this contract, they were not charging us for reimbursement, but we were separately buying some of their paramedic supplies. In October of 2024, they started billing us directly on a monthly basis for their supplies. And so that's been running about $712 a month during that period of time. When we looked at what Norwalk Hospital pays for those paramedic supplies, they're a much more efficient buyer of those supplies. So we're quite happy for them to do that as part of the arrangement. But in part because they weren't originally billing us, in part because so our costs have gone up slightly. So that's why we were asking for a 5% increase rather than just a 3%. And it was also to make the town more aware of it, so that when we have the negotiation with Norwalk Hospital, we look to the contract when it expires in 2 years' time, that we at least talk about and take into account the cost of those supplies and see whether town will pay a portion of that or all of that, or we'll continue to pay that. So those are the 4 numbers in the general budget. And then in the capital budget, there's $85,000, which is to replace the paramedic vehicle. It's sort of, my understanding is it's sort of on, each of them are on a 10-year cycle. So we have one which is up for replacement, and the total cost is about $85,000. It might be slightly higher than that, but that's the paramedic supply car. The one thing that I do want to point out, because it's come up in the context of our discussions with the Board of Selectmen, is that for our ambulance for 28, 29, and for the cost may be higher. When we purchased an ambulance, I guess during the pandemic, there was a budget of $280,000. And then when we looked just now for our next ambulance, the price had jumped to $390. The $280 that we paid, that we're about to take delivery on that ambulance, it did not include some additional costs that we incur when we fit out the new ambulance. So for example, there's $21,000 that we spend for the new radios. There was $26,000 that we spent for a new power loader. And then we also pay roughly $12,000 to $17,000 for all the detailing on the ambulances themselves. In the case of the ambulance that we are getting now, the initial cost of the ambulance came in at $294 rather than the $280. So we wrote a check for $14,000 to the town to complete the purchase. And then I think the plan is that the old ambulance will then be put up for auction to be sold, and we hope to recoup the 14. And we've at least had a discussion with the town that depending on the price that they realize, whether we might recoup some of those other costs that we've incurred to fit out the new ambulance. In the past, the old ambulance has been traded in, so it's a different process this time. And so we're just sort of going through and seeing how it works. So I think the 390 number that's in the 28-29 fiscal year doesn't include those additional expenses. And so once we have a better idea, I think next year that we'll come back with a more detailed estimate at that point in time. But for this year, it's just the $85,000, and that includes the purchase of the SUV, it includes the purchase of the radios, and it also includes then the fit out and the detailing. So that's all included as part of that. Any questions or?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you for all you do for the town.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, it's.
Thank you.
I think the Board of Selectmen meeting, you were talking about how much fundraising, how much does the public
Sure.
contribute to your budget?
Sure. We do a soft appeal once a year. And so that's, we just sent that out. It ranges between $150,000 and about $210,000 a year that we get in donations from town members. Some of that spikes if there's a legacy gift, or we had a couple of years ago, a family in town that we had done a lot for. They were liquidating a family foundation, and so they made a one-time contribution of $25,000 to the Corps. But we operate on a cash basis, and basically between what the town pays for us in the contribution and what we raise in donations, we break even. So what we pay for out of the donations is we spend more on medical supplies and equipment than the town portion that covers it. We pay for all of our training. We pay for all of the food. We pay for the uniforms. And we pay for all the cable, internet, TV, things like that as part of it.
Furnishings of the.
Furnishings.
And that's been the amount that you raise from the public is pretty consistent, or has it dipped year to year?
In my experience, it's been pretty consistent and sort
Yeah.
of the 180 to 200, 210. And this year we've received about 515 donations and roughly $208,000
Oh, wow.
that we have.
Okay.
And it can be a donation of $10, or as he said, we do receive some of the larger.
Yeah.
Legacy and John mentioned soft sell. We sort of send out an update letter. We do include an envelope, and we do have a QR code that again people can donate online, which is kind of new in the process. But we get a wide variety of donations, and people give what they
Nice
can
to
give,
hear.
and they
Nice to hear.
may use our service a lot and give what they can, and it seems to sustain us other than these larger.
Right. So when you said you paid out the extra for the vehicle that you bought, was that from your own funds?
Yeah.
Then, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And we don't have a software database system, so they all get processed by hand.
Do you have a reserve?
By John's hand.
Yeah, we do have a reserve. So we have some money in CDs and preferred money market funds at Morgan Stanley. It's roughly about $800,000.
Okay, all right, good. So you have a buffer.
Yeah, but we sort of aimed to break even on the fundraising and then our expenses.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. No, yeah, I'm glad you have a reserve, is what I'm saying. So you break even every year, but there's a reserve just in case.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you for all you do.
Yes,
Yep,
thank
sure.
you.
Thank you.
Sure.
An honor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
No, nothing.
All right.
Anybody? Anybody else?
Thank you.
No.
All good.
Thank you for what you guys do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, fire department.
That's us.
Yeah.
Glad we're last. I can have a-
And Janet, I like you keeping us ahead of schedule on a Friday afternoon. I
Yeah, no,
like
it's
it.
good. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Everyone's
run that
efficient.
there, Mr. Chen.
Thanks, Chief.
No problem. They're behind us. And I think I slide the.
You got that?
Slide. Usually push out. Yeah. All right. Yeah. For everyone that hasn't met Bill Parrott, he's my assistant chief, came in May.
Hey, Bill.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
When did you come in?
May.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
Thank you.
Uh-oh. Get over there, girl.
That was me. All right. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for meeting with us. So I'll quickly go through the presentation for Tuesday night. Go on anything, any questions, updates, just let me know and I can handle that. Our goals and objectives, pretty much training. We took on 3 new volunteers and again, a lot of training and certification as we went through our 26 goals and objectives, or FY 26 goals and objectives. We continue to public educate, so that's been pretty consistent throughout the last few years, getting out there doing public education events, and we're continuing with our smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. So that the detector install, so that's been very successful. We did launch Community Connect in summer of last year. And that's the portal for the community to sign up on and put a little bit of information, as little or as lot as information as they want about their residents. So we can see that on our iPads as we're responding, if there's a meeting place, how many kids they might have, pets. So we're starting to see a bunch of that. Big thing we're looking for is gate codes, ways to make sure that we get into the property safely. So last time, this is a little, probably 3 weeks old, there was 360 on there, but I will check again before Tuesday. And again, 6 members complete in Fire 1. So again, the training continues. In-house Fire 2 class we did, so that was successful. What we did as a department, 1,239 calls for service. So anything from a fire alarm, to medical, to public assist, the smoke detectors are in those numbers. Just over half of our calls are initiated by a fire alarm. So somebody that has a smoke detection system or carbon monoxide detection system within the home. So the town's well protected, that they we get early notification. Just our mutual aid, and I heard the EMS mention it just before, they started, we run out of town 25 times last year, and other departments came into town 25 times throughout the year. So based on our calls, which is not a big deal. We get them running early. Same thing with other towns. They call us early to make sure they're staffing on scene of a fire, and we get them coming early. It's always like we tell each other as chiefs, it's like, it's fine to cancel them. We'd rather be ahead of the game than, so.
What is good intent?
A good intent would be somebody calls in smoke from, you might see smoke from your neighbor's house. When you get there, they're using a fire pit. Something like that. So, a lot of smoke, like what they used to call smoke scares were in there.
Okay.
So blowing leaves and you see what looks to be smoke. So we get there. And these codes are how the federal government wants us to code them.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually give somewhat parameters on code them this way, because that's how they get the national data for fire service. Our report system, the narrative, would actually detail that on what people we're doing. Like if, say, that good intent call became a nuisance call,
right,
we would see that in the narrative, and then we can have a conversation. Our fire marshal might have a conversation with the person doing the fire pit.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chief, so it's very
yes.
Interesting. Two things. One, it's interesting that fire is only 4% of your calls, so you do a lot more than obviously respond to potential fires. This is a good chart to show all the things you do.
Yeah, and you're going to see those numbers come up. And again, fires are very specific on how they what they do to code them. So that's coming up in a second. But the lower that number, the better. We all fire prevention.
Do you guys still do the house calls where someone says, "Look, can you do assessment of my house and make sure it's safety proof and what do I need?" Because I know at one point you guys are doing those assessments.
Yep, that's still running through the fire marshal's office. That's who takes the appointment. We can do what we call residential home inspection. So the fire marshal can walk through, and we are working with the volunteer fire company to take on that, so they can schedule and do it after hours too. So that's one of our, right now it's mostly Monday through Friday during working hours, but the volunteer fire company might take that on as a project that they get out and could do a weekend or an evening for the resident. It's about an hour.
Is that in these numbers, or that's separate from these numbers?
No, I'll have them for next week. I could put them in there. I could get
I'm just saying it, but it's not part of the pie, right? It's outside of this pie.
No, because it's not it's technically not an incident. So those won't get, the federal government doesn't, I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't need that for their national run data.
Oh, I see.
So they will not get counted.
I think it'd be good to add that for our presentation Tuesday, just to show that you do that as a great service for the town as well.
We will. We'll take care of
I
that.
saw that advertised, I think in the patch or something like that, you were doing these, but how many people take advantage of the free home?
He's probably done, I'm guessing 50 last year. So 50 inspections, but I'll double check. Yeah, he's out there. And that's just the residential home inspections. There's the fire marshal's office is doing regular life safety inspections in our business community every day. They're out there. So he's like 500. There's 500 inspections a year that have to happen in the town.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Chief, we were talking less earlier. How many fires have you had so far? It was a lot more, I think, this year than the entire year before, right?
We've had probably more documented fires. I'll get that, see what the trend was. Our property loss is definitely down. So we're about half of our property loss from last year. We were in the 600,000s. And I think that just was the type of fire. We've had a lot more fires, but we didn't have the loss because of where the fires were in the structure. So it limited the property loss. But I think our fires have gone up. I'll double check that stat also.
Okay.
But yeah, we lost for property loss, damage to houses, just under 400,000. But in all those houses, which roughly is about 44 incidents, that was almost $38 million worth of property that was assessed. That's assessed property that's still besides the loss, obviously some of them might have knocked our house down, but that was truly the loss that we calculate and report to the fire administration.
Right.
So a coded fire, 44 coded fires. We had, that could be, a small fire on a stove. It could have been a mulch fire in front of the house. It could actually be a car fire as a coded fire. So that's what the national database wants once we do everything. We had 12 actual building fires. So that was a fire within a building, mostly residential structures. A couple of those were commercial on Elm Street for small incidents. And then 10 of those 12 accounted for the 400,000. So that's how it starts to break down for the ultimate fire loss.
Pretty
And just
good.
along with that, since I've been here, I've responded to, since May, 5 second alarm fires. We just had one 4 hours ago. And a large part of it too is just how well our members operate. I just want to come out and say that quickly. It is very impressive. Today we had a very significant fire on arrival, and due to the work of our career and volunteer members, the train, the command by the chief, the system's really working great. And that's another reason why those numbers are so low, because we're knocking those fires down in 5 minutes from arrival. We have water on fire, and it's very impressive. I'm very proud of our members.
That's great.
That's great.
What we're looking for to do in 27, continue with our fire prevention. So we are trying to roll something out for the business community, a little more education because of the few things that did happen. We think education can assist that. We also are looking at our contractors to reduce some of those the unnecessary alarms that come in. So that's one of the things that they take up a lot of time for the firefighters to respond. And that could, if it's an accidental alarm that could have been prevented, that does take away from an emergency that's really happening. So we're looking into that. That's our goal for 27. Continue to enhance firefighter health and safety. We've been switching our personal protective equipment to PFAS free, maintaining a 10 years worth of service life on it, which is recommended by OSHA. So we're doing a lot for that. We've been cleaning the interiors of apparatus. So a lot more that nothing's lingering around the firehouse or in the fire trucks that you wouldn't even know is affecting you. So that's what we're looking at. Evaluate and standardize water supply program. You can see the picture to the right. One of our members did this, and what that's showing is that we're using our records management system to actually put on there how many feet from a water source. So we know if we can directly lay from the water source, hose from the water source to the fire. If it's not in that blue line, then we usually go to what's called a tanker shuttle. So that's going to, so these things we're using that technology to really make it much easier for us and any firefighter sitting in the right front seat to see that and make a better decision quicker. So a little bunch of work going in on that. Quantifying with Bill, he's spent a lot of time on, really quantifying the driver operator program and our officer development. So we've done a lot of stuff. We haven't documented well and really had a set objectives for that. So that's what we've been starting to focus on moving forward for 27. All right, so that's kind of what we're doing. I only pulled out 2 big areas of the budget, but I do have the spreadsheet here if there's any questions that you guys may have seen. But as always, staffing costs. And that 4852, I was supposed to get in there and change everything today. We got a little preoccupied because we did cut one little thing out of the budget. It's probably down to about 4,084,000 something. But based on the number from the Board of Selectmen meeting, it was an overall increase of 1,362, almost 63,000. And I always want to, we like to put our staffing costs because that's over 90% of our operating budget. We did do they gave us a 2% increase on full-time salaries. Our contract with the firefighters union is still not completed. So we don't know what those raises are going to be. So this was this budget's going into their second year without the contract. And they put 2% in last year, and then this has a 2% increase also. Why it's only showing 0.5% is because we had extra firefighters going into FY26 because of retirements. So they allow us to hire early to get them into training. So we had two extra firefighters for like 6 months, basically. So that's why the increase doesn't look as much. It's not close to 2% because of that. So we did have a 25th and 26th firefighter for a half a year going into the end of fiscal 25.
So Chief, the 0.5% is it, right? It's not going to go to 2%.
Well, it depends on the contract. So when that contract settles, I don't know. It'll probably be after the budget's approved. So I don't honestly know how that'll play out, but they'll probably have to move money into the full-time salary line. So I don't know how to answer that question. I think that was Nick that asked that. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Just going to make sure exactly, because you're in contract negotiations now.
Correct.
We approved the 0.5%, whatever, and then later it's like, oh, it's 2%. It's because of the contract negotiation. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's definitely 2% in there, but if that raise possibly comes in at 2.5, 2.75, then that could adjust that line. And I honestly can't answer that right now. That was finance and board of selectmen that or first selectman that worked on that and gave us that number.
Yeah. So to be clear, just to make sure we're on the same page, that 0.5% assumes a 2% increase in the negotiation. So if it comes in at a 2% increase in negotiations, you wouldn't need any more than you have here. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. That's what the advice we were given from finance. Yes.
Okay, great. And then how many years is this contract for? Would it be 3 years?
Again, it's in negotiation. I think they're trying to redo a 4-year contract. So I don't want to misspeak, but I think that's what the discussions were.
And a 4-year backdating to when? The start of 26?
Start of 25. They've been July 1 of 25.
Okay, July 1, 25, which is a 26-year contract, which we're currently in. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
And everything else is basically an increase based on because the overtime they had us do the numbers, and it really is the vacation and holidays based on the number of people, and then I put in the raise into that vacation holiday pay. What's happening in those steps, vacation holidays, why they went up more than 2.5, more than 2, is we have firefighters in steps that got hired 5 years ago, 4 years ago, all the way down to last year. So each firefighters are coming up, they're getting step raises along with the raises that are going to be for the full-time salary. So that's why I get close, but I can't tell who's going to work the overtime. So it could be a 20-year member at the highest pay, or it could be a 2-year member that's still in step. So there's a big variance there. But we were pretty close last year on our holidays and vacation estimate based on what they have to take off, what time they have to take off.
And you're reducing injury because of
that was finance. That's based on 3-year average. And unfortunately, this end of last year, we ended up having an injury, which has put me in the negative. But we've been very good with off-time injuries that caused loss of time, and that number's been going down every year. And we do get reimbursement from our insurance carrier, so that kind of offsets some of it. We get about 33% back on the injury. But that's why that was just a recommendation from HR and finance based on the 3-year average. And salaries we've had for training. So a lot of offsite training that we have to do to meet our state and the insurance service organization. We have to go to different locations for training. It has to be a set training academy to get some credit. So that's when we hire firefighters back for live burns and some different classes that we have to come back for. Okay, so and that's our current staffing off to the right. So those are our anything that's a paid position. That's what is being paid.
And does that, you think that's the right number? You have enough people?
Oh, it's never the right number, but it is the right number right now because I can't fit anymore. Yeah, so yeah, we I mean, obviously that while we had those firefighters on days, there was a benefit for the we had a 7th firefighter on the day shift basically. That's how we were running the new people before they went on shift. There was a benefit to that, having that extra set of hands during the day.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of different staffing models that that support us. So, but yeah, right now that is the correct number based on our infrastructure. You know, today it's never enough, and I can't even. There's no NFPA standard that would say this is enough. But with the mutual aid and our callback, as you see, we have callback in there. If we increased it a few, like $4,000, because we did get for, I think 6 career firefighters back. So we got basically a full shift back, which doubled our staffing. Takes a little time, but that's how we operate and getting the people when we need them.
You have volunteer firefighters that
We
help
have
out?
27. The volunteer fire company, there's 27, and I think there was 18 of them are qualified interior. Yes, so we had a turnout from the volunteers also today. Yep.
So that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the major part of the operating budget. This is the big ask, a big increase this year. I didn't jot down the percentage, but we've been struggling with our regular maintenance and then repair. So maintenance is ongoing and that's expected. But over the last couple of years, our repair budget has significantly increased. We've had a lot of major projects that had to happen, including, radiators, alternators, the ladder truck needed lift cylinders and a whole bunch of, the springs that the truck rides on underneath. So these were some major repairs that were currently coming in a little under budget, so that we're working with finance for that now. But looking at what the projection is for next year, our ask has gone up to 145 from 115. So that's the significant increase. I gotta just to show you where we're going, and I can switch out of this because it'll tie into capital. What we currently are running, these two pieces of apparatus, that's on the top, it's a 2017 truck, and our tanker runs with that on every call that comes in. That's what we say the career staffs, and they go out on every fire alarm, that has anything that's potential. They're taking these two pieces of apparatus. So these are getting the most of the road time as we're out there. So here's the stats on those. The engine on top goes out 1,200 times a year, put about 4,000 miles, 500 hours on there. And the tanker's about half of that based on the calls, and pretty much half all around. So that's what the tanker's doing. The tanker's a heavy piece of apparatus. So it does take a lot more wear running that all the time. And the tanker is 2008. So we're at 17, 18, going on 18 years old right now. So why that's significant, you're going to see that in capital coming up. Mm-hmm. Third due apparatus would be another engine. So a third engine goes, and you can see that based on our calls, the third engine gets out about 215 times. It's only getting just under 1,000 miles, about 100 hours of engine time on it. And that's just the nature of the call. A fire alarm, by the time the career staff gets and downgrades the assignment, that third engine doesn't get out for the most of the fire alarms, and it doesn't need to go on a lot of the public assist calls. So that's why it comes down. But like today, that major part of the operation today is that third engine getting out, which it did. And it got out really quick, which is a good thing. So that chalked up a run for it this year. So that's what our third engine does. And the last way as people come in on a callback, they can take the ladder truck would be next, then our rescue truck. So these, I would call it the fourth due pieces that are going out to the calls. Oops, I got about 70 runs a year. I didn't have the engine hours and all that. But to get these fourth due pieces out, it's going out about 70 times. So that's kind of what our apparatus is doing. If they're not the first due pieces, they're not getting beat down a lot. But it's just, they seem to, when they're aging, things like the radiators and the mechanics of them start to fail and wear out just with not getting used a lot, it seems like sometimes. But that's what the apparatus is doing. What our new model is going to be when our new engine comes in at the end of the year, it's going to run what we call engine. So 2 pumpers are going to run out, the current 2017 and the new 2026 engine. That'll bring us 2,000 gallons of water in the driveway. So running 2 engines together, all 6 firefighters are going to get up the driveway reasonably quick. So we have 6 members working right away. We have 2,000 gallons in the driveway. Right now we end up with 750 gallons in the driveway, and the tanker might not make the driveway. So we might be 500-600 feet down the driveway. So that's a lot of muscle for firefighters to put line in the driveway and start to get that additional water up the driveway. So the engine concept will put both of them in the driveway, 6 people, 2,000 gallons. And the tanker is technically how a tanker is supposed to operate is fill up where there's a water source, bring it back to the scene. We can't do that right now. The tanker kind of gets beached. So it gets parked at the end of the driveway and it starts feeding up the driveway and it never leaves again. So we can't use it in our water supply calculation to go back to the pond, go to a hydrant and bring that water back to the scene. That's the design of a true tanker. And that's what, by doing this model, it's going to get us back into that. So the tanker would end up as the third due apparatus in a non-hydrated area, estimating about 150 responses, less road time, decreases wear. The big thing is it's going to increase our vehicle longevity because this truck is just under 70,000 pounds. And that every time it's making turns and those rear axles are twisting, that's a lot of wear and tear on the rig. So we're going to be able to get some more longevity on it. And when it's running in as a tanker, it tends not to have to go down into those really narrow, tight streets sometimes, how it would set up. So that's part of the new model. And then depending on the incident, these combination of this fleet would run third, fourth, and fifth due as needed. So that's kind of depending on the call, they're gonna go as we call order of the roll. So if it's more than likely the ladder would roll fourth, but if hydrated district, then you might get an engine. So it'll vary a little bit. So that's kind of where we are with our deployment and how we respond to it. Any questions? And I think this we put this in here because a lot of questions come up on what apparatus does, and you're going to see a spreadsheet in a minute that kind of gets a little confusing on the apparatus. So I just wanted to point out what our apparatus actually is and the job that it's currently doing. Which brings me to capital. So I'll hit the 27 capital. I'll show you the 5-year plan, and I'm going to bring up a spreadsheet on the replacement plan on apparatus. So for next year, some stock, we're trying to, we're still working the gear, 10 years old. We've been lucky with purchasing gear, and we could reduce that from my original 5-year plan for next year. I don't have a lot of PPE sets that need replacing last year. So we're going to ask for 25 for that. We are asking for a radio replace. I'm sure you heard radios from the Assistant Chief Kimes. and radio replacement for 40,000. What those are is we are slowly transitioning to those tri-band radios, those multi-bands that Russ talked about. We're thinking of just doing them as we replace the apparatus. What we need to do is our first due apparatus and the tanker needs to get radios when they go mutual aid, because those are our primary mutual aid apparatus. And we thought the portable radio was going to work for it, but the firefighters are dressing and it's under their coat and they can't get to the radio to change channels once they're seatbelted in, and they can't see the radio. So the tri-band in the apparatus is going to allow that better communication while they're responding into Wilton, Stanford, whichever department they're going to. And it's easier for them to switch. Once they get on scene, then their radio becomes the fire ground radio. So that is for three radios for the apparatus and some other replacement parts for our portables is the 40,000.
You have on there the first line personal protective equipment under bonded. The budget book shows it under tax support.
It's not. I'm sorry. That's probably my miss on that when they originally sent me back the stuff.
That's fine.
I let them make that decision, so I could definitely go back and switch that on the slide. Not a problem.
Yeah, I would prefer it's bonded, but it's below the threshold of 50,000.
Only 10 years. It only lasts 10 years, so I don't know if they want to do that. That gear gets kicked out, destroyed. OSHA doesn't want to see it in the firehouse after 10 years. So I don't know if that's really a bonded. The way we're replacing it's probably not a bonded item, but that's you guys and can help with that. Tools and equipment, just regular maintenance along like our AEDs, thermal imaging cameras are in there. So we got a few odds, not hugely priced additions or replacement pieces of equipment, but they are long term. You know, like the thermal imaging camera that'll last 10 years. AEDs are at lasting 10 years for us. So that's where that tools and equipment line is. So
Okay.
that's what that is. Training props. There's a couple training props we want to upgrade for the firehouse. One's forcible entry prop that better mimics the doors and structures that we go to. So compared to the one that we have that's 25 years old, it was one of the original ones that were made, which was very good, lasted a long time. It's tired, and it's not doing the same thing we're doing. And to tie back to one of our goals of doing officer and driver development, Chief suggested what's called a flow meter. And that's going to help our pump operators understand the water they're moving and in training. So they're actually going to be able to see it. So it's not a huge priced item, but it's a long-term piece of equipment that's going to be used for training and testing fire hose and so on when we buy new equipment, new hose. Our rescue tool replacement, this is going to be a 3-year project. We put a small amount in this year because we are going to try for a grant. We haven't been successful with the AFG grants, but we are going to put the rescue tools in there, the whole package. These are what we're switching over to is what we call a battery operated extrication tool. Right now, most of our tools are tied to the apparatus. So we have hoses, hydraulic fluids, pumps, a lot of extra equipment that has to go on an apparatus so we can run this extrication equipment to, access cars, that are rolled over that have been in significant accidents. That's part one. Also, our tools are at 12 years old, right around there, depending on there's a couple different years that were purchased in there. But the car design has changed. The metals have changed in the car. So this isn't, this is something that every department deals with, that the tools are no longer strong enough to cut the metal. So twofold, newer cutters, to be able to cut the new cars. We want to get rid of the umbilical cords so we can not have to rely on the apparatus being in service to run the tools. So we can always have those tools moved from apparatus to apparatus. It doesn't have to tie to a specific apparatus.
They're all battery operated.
Huh?
They're all
They're
battery
all battery
operated.
operated. I got a
Wow.
slide
Yeah.
on it. I got a slide. I could show you the pictures of them, but the only downside, they're a tad heavier, but
Yeah.
I don't have the cord holding me
Yeah.
back. So let me jump down to the plumbing electrical gear. So I have a washer in a previous budget that I had trouble getting installed because we can't get the wastewater out. I could get the water to the washer. I'm having a lot of trouble keeping my old washer. So we have two, and putting this one in service because of the wastewater. So I needed to add some plumbing and electrical. And we acquired a sink, pretty much. It was free, and it's almost like a stainless steel sink that you would find in a restaurant with shelves or a flat top and the big sink area. That's going to allow us to decon the equipment in a sink that normally isn't used for people washing their hands. Again, this is part of the health and safety and cancer reduction. So that would be just for SCBA cleaning. It's big enough to put the entire SCBA into the sink so they can scrub it, wash it down, do what they need to get the piece of equipment cleaned. So that's kind of the 15,000 is just to get me hooked up with the washer that we still need to buy from previous budget. And that way it keeps the current washer in service. Because right now unfortunately, however many career staff has 2 sets of gear. Our volunteers are out of service right now that came to the fire today. They'll probably be out for 48 hours. Their gear always gets washed first, but depending on how many members show up, that takes a while for them to wash one set at a time and get back in service. So that's the downside of a fire. Worse on a planned training where we have more people that show up. So now they're really down for a number of days because they don't have the second set of gear. Jump back up to the tanker refurb. Unfortunately, I don't have a set number on that yet. My commission asked me to move it up because of some work that needs to happen on the tanker that was going to be pretty significant. So we had a placeholder for $1 million for next year. Commission's really pushing to have that moved up so we get the process started. Unfortunately, I don't have all the numbers from the vendor that we would have to review and get ready for a bid spec. So that's why it's staying in there at $1 million for a refurbishment. So a refurb, we think is the best. If it comes in reasonably, we're hoping it comes in around 650,000, no more than 750,000. And that will prolong the life of our current tanker for about 15 more years. Why don't we want to buy new? We don't know when the spec goes out if they can maintain the weight and the height and width to fit in our current firehouse. Huh. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Nobody likes to, we got a 20-year-old piece, we're still working and it's going to live 15 more years, but that's going to buy us time. So what I'm going to do is switch over to, I'll just show you the extrication tools here up in the corner. So you can see that those are the battery operated extrication tools up in the right corner. And there's the door. And I'll switch out of the 5, go right to the apparatus, and then I can come back to the 5-year plan if I need to. Where's the Zoom? All right. Screen sharing.
When do you think you might have a better number on the tanker refurbishment?
I was hoping by Tuesday, but I think it'll be after the finance meeting, definitely before town council. We'll have a better number for them on the work that they're proposing. And I got to stop sharing. There we go. Yeah. So
it could be 750 to $1 million.
I think the refurb is going to come in max 750, but the problem is we have to make sure that everything that we want to get addressed is in that quote. That's why I don't want to. Yeah, I'm nervous about committing to that.
Sure.
One sec. Here we go. So I got two ways I broke this out. I'll kind of give you an overview of our fleet first on a spreadsheet. So what I call the apparatus chart, and kind of where we are. Share. Why is it not sharing? All right, so that is, it works, come on. Not letting that one come up, why? Sorry about that, guys. Thought it would pop right up. There we go. All right, so here's where we are, and I'll explain the color. You can't see the, there's a color chart down here. So basically, let me go through that. So discussion and request for funds, kind of in our planning, kind of like we are now for FY27. That's going to be in the orange. The red will be when the funds would be allocated that fiscal year. The yellow would be the bid, contract, and build time. So right now our vendors are still right around 3 to 4 years for brand new builds. We think the refurb will be 6 months to a year. The delivery year, which is light green, the in-service, which is the long ones, those are the when the truck's running. And then we have a couple that go into a standby status and so on, which are the blue. So I'll come back up here. So if the gray bar is 27. So currently engine 2, our 1997 pumpers in service. We're looking at that to be through its backup time and be decommissioned around fiscal year 28-29. So that's one of the pumpers. Currently a 2013 engine is in backup status. So what that means is it's sitting in downstairs in the bay, fully equipped. If we get a second call, that's 2 calls at once, that's the pumper that goes. If like today, if that pumper actually was in service here, it's getting worked on right now, it's at a shop, that would have been the standby piece. As callback members would staff that. So that's a fully staffed apparatus ready to go to the next call. Mm-hmm. And then this is its 20-year mark, which is 31. So this apparatus makes just under 20 years for the way we have to try to get them on a 10-year cycle. And then it goes in a reserve status. So what reserve status is it has some equipment, not 100%. We use it for training. The volunteers staff it on training nights, but we're not looking at it as a first due piece because it doesn't have every piece of equipment that it might need when it goes to a call. So that's where, that's the dark blue. Our current first due piece is 2017. Looking to, and you'll see this in the 5-year plan, for next year's request would be to start building this one. So that way it would go into reserve status in 31, 32, and so on. And what we're looking at is the engines that those ones that are running first due would get a 10-year service life. It goes into reserve status for 10 years or backup status for 10 years. And then if we wanted to keep it, it would stay for 10 more years as backup status. So we get 30 years out of a pumper based on the running hard for the first 10 years at 1,200 calls a year. But then you saw on that slide, going back to what we showed, that it's going to drop down to maybe 100, 150 times a year. It's going to go out in that backup status.
So it's really only active for 10 years, and then
but these trucks, ours.
Yeah,
They don't take as much of a beating as city engines, but NFPA doesn't want them running longer than 15 years frontline. So we're doing it a little short because what we see is our major repairs are coming around 8 to 12 years. That's when radiators are starting to go. So now we have a lot of downtime with the apparatus. So our thought is if we get them to 10 years, then they could get some of those major overhauls and go into that backup status. Rescue 5 was bought in 21. That's not, doesn't do a lot of runs because it's primary going on car accidents. So that's could be a 30-year piece. Here's the apparatus that we purchased and is in the build cycle now. When it comes in, we'll be running that engine. So that's coming in end of this year. So it'll be in service for hopefully at some point in fiscal year 27. And because that is going to run second due, it's only running half those calls. We feel we could get 15 years, put that one as 15 years because it's not a true first due apparatus. So that's what our goal is. So here's the tanker right now. So the tanker is the ask. If we could get the money for refurbishment for FY27, it'll get bidded and built, hopefully back in service within 6 months to a year. And we're going to get 15-year service life out of that. A new tanker runs about, our survey was about $1.5 million for a new tanker, which now you're looking at NFPA recommends 25-year service life. We've been, like I said, we're trying to run 30 on our apparatus, but that was that's the National Fire Protection recommendation. Is the 25-year service life. So this gives us 15 years of service after that the refurbishment.
Can you just explain to me again why it has to be refurbished instead of
it doesn't. Why it needs refurbishing because of some of the wear and tear on it. So like underneath the road grime is ruining the frame rails. We had a couple leaks in the tank, in which the warranty work took care of the tank leak, but it didn't fix the ancillary damage that happened from it. So that under there, being 17, 18 years old now, some of the electrical components are starting to go. So we're chasing electrical gremlins. So they can go to a call and the chute doesn't open. Just from, again, a lot of it is the salts on the road right now.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's tearing up the underneath side of the truck. So it's, they would take the body off, rebuild that body and tank with a different style tank, new electronics in there, better protect the frame rails from what they know now versus, but we're getting a lot of downtime with the tanker with, with incidents happening, stuff's going bad. Stuff like that.
Once it's refurbished, it's a 15-year life.
We're thinking it would stay for 15 more years based on the call volume that's going to happen. Because again, it's going into that third due status now, so it's not going to run as many calls as it is now. So that would prolong its life and not have to go out on every other run. So that's kind of the thought process there. So that's the ask. In my 5-year capital plan, our 5-year capital plan, you'll see the engine to get those engines on that 10-year cycle. So we're not having major repairs and we're down apparatus. We look in 2028, next budget would be a request for an engine, which roughly is about $1.5 million. I'll bring up the 5-year capital plan again, but that's that 30-year piece. Unfortunately, with today's design build times, that 3 to 4 years, we need to start really early on these things, or we're going to be, apparatus will be at the 20-year mark and we're trying to catch up on it. It's like, oh, we need one now. And that's been the challenge with all fire departments is now it's like, we just ordered an engine, but it's 4 years to build it. So now you're trying to catch up on that build time. Hopefully that'll change. It hasn't, it's gotten a little better, but it depends on the manufacturer. As you come down, ladder 3 will come up in that 5-year plan also. You see, we have 3 right in a row. This one is a definite refurb. This one we did get information from Seagrave already, which is the manufacturer. They proposed a current refurb of just under $600,000. But again, we went through that spec and it would have to go out to bid anyway. But there's a lot of things that we feel that need to get added to that refurb to make sure that the truck's going to be able to perform the way we want it to for the next 15 years. The problem with the ladder is and why refurb on this, which is actually probably a third of the cost of a new one, that refurb cost. It's actually not bad. A new ladder trucks, they're coming in at about 1.8, 1.9 million. And unfortunately, none will fit in the firehouse right now. So, that's our biggest challenge, that we cannot buy a new ladder truck based on our angle of approach, how we back into the building, and the height of the building and the weight of the floor. There's nothing on the market that will fill the need of an apparatus. We like a 7 down the road. You'll see down in 2043 there, we're looking at a new to replace this thing. We're looking at a different style ladder, maybe even a little shorter one ladder wise, but still that still doesn't allow it to back in the firehouse because of the way the design of it, it comes up on an angle and it would hit the building.
Do we need a new firehouse eventually?
Well, funny you might ask that, because you see after 29, and this is pure discussion.
Yeah.
I have a lot of discussion time in here, earlier the better. If we started it next year, even better. But we feel that we have a lot of town that's not covered that meets the standard right now. So there's about 10% of calls that we do not meet minimum standards. I would actually say it's higher than that. Our standard that we gave it is, I said 10 minutes from headquarters. There's about 120 calls a year that we can't make to somebody's house in less than 10 minutes. So our biggest concern, lower Jelliff Mill and Ponus. We don't get a lot of calls there, which is kind of not my priority. My priority would up top of Valley in North Wilton and that side. It's very difficult for us to get over there. We have a lot of calls that are 12, 14, 16 minutes, including to St. Luke's. A lot of times we're over 10 minutes to get to St. Luke's. So that area of town would be our target for a second station. So the second station for response times. And I'm still unfair to 3/4 of the town. I'll be on, because my Jelliff Mill area, Ponus, I'm not providing the service, top of Ponus. So we do still have some gaps. But why over there that's where most of the calls are.
Does Jelliff Hill call Stanford? Does Jelliff Hill call Stanford? Is that closer for them?
We respond all the way to below the Merritt Parkway. We call them mutual aid, but our first due on a regular assignment, mutual aid's not responding. And to get to West Cross, East Cross, right at Jelliff Mill, go back over the Merritt, you're looking 12 minutes just to get to the Merritt Parkway over that bridge. So,
hey, Chief,
yes.
Just two quick things. Apologize. One is, I think it's good to have that conversation sooner rather than later, because it always takes a lot of time to kind of have everybody think about it and get it, thought through and discuss. So I think I recommend you just bring that up sooner than later.
And what I didn't put on here is after that station, then you could start really looking at rehabbing the downtown stations we still need, because that's smack in the middle. There's no question that's the best for our headquarters. But what we can do, if we have the second station, it alleviates some of the apparatus that we have to house here. Right now, the ladder doesn't fit. The tanker's getting too heavy. So those things, that affects the basement underneath. So there's a lot of engineering issues that we can't fix over there currently. So that's where some of keeping the lighter weight vehicles in the downtown firehouse would be a benefit. And again, another reason for the station up north, the bays will be bigger. It helps us with maintenance on apparatus. Right now, our people who do the maintenance on apparatus only can do it when it's reasonably nice outside in Locust Lot. And everyone hates us when we're out there, taking up, 15 spaces to do apparatus work when they come here. So, that station would accommodate that. That station will be able to accommodate a lot of the apparatus when we do go into a renovation cycle downtown. So right now the engines fit, they're definitely light enough to sit on our floor. So that's a good thing. Because the floor, they're not that heavy. So that's kind of, we wanted to start throwing that conversation out.
No, I think we should. I think we should have a conversation on Tuesday.
Yeah,
on that
there's
for
no
sure.
ask right now for that, but just kind of giving everyone, town members a vision
A
on
heads
what
up.
we're looking.
Great.
After
Hey, I
once this-
apologize, Chief. I have to run. I apologize.
Okay.
But is there, and before I go, just one question. Great job, and thank you for all you do for this town, as always.
Welcome.
But is there anything that's missing here that you wish you had that's not in your proposed budget?
I mean,
I think the focus right now is going to be on trying to get this apparatus replacement plan up and running, and then obviously planning for the infrastructure growth of the second firehouse.
Right.
I think those are the two big priorities right
Okay.
now.
yeah, I mean, the finance people I lean on to how much do you want to bond, and you do it every year. That's anything that we have here, like that second engine, if you moved it up, I know it's a big ass in 1 year, but I don't know if that's better or worse, down the road. So if that's something that you want to think about and get back to me before Tuesday, that would be the only thing. The sooner we start working on that replacement engine, it helps us down the line, and it kind of spreads out some of those purchases down farther. So that's kind of the ask. The hard part is we can't really work on it. We can get our spec ready, but we can't do anything until that money's there for them to give us numbers and all and bid on it. So,
Okay. Well,
thank you,
thank you
Mike.
so much. I really
Yep.
appreciate it. Have a good weekend. I'll speak to you Tuesday
Thanks,
for
Michael.
sure.
Sounds
Take
good.
Yeah.
And if you look just after the station, we do want to reduce our fleet. So this plan, this what you're looking at here, we want to reduce the fleet by at least one vehicle, possibly two vehicles, as we move into the early 30s. So that's going to help the big vehicles, the pumpers, ladders, the rescue truck. Those big vehicles that we keep throwing numbers of 1.5 million out there. We're looking at the potential of a mini pumper, which we don't get as much longevity, but it gives us more maneuverability during storms, brush fires. Our volunteers be easier for that to drive on a regular basis. So we're looking at, so that if we did a mini pumper and didn't have that third engine anymore, so anywhere you see that dark blue, that third engine would go away. The mini pumper takes that. If that call comes in, they can jump with the mini pumper, and it does everything a pumper does. It just doesn't carry as much water, and it's on a much cheaper body, which is the more of a pickup truck style body, a little heavier pickup truck. So those numbers significantly reduce the. It's a lot easier to that truck have 10 or 15 years to replace it versus now you're starting to say, another 1.5 million for a pumper. So that's kind of in our vision to kind of start to go towards something like that. That's a huge benefit for our town, a smaller pumper like that has the water capabilities. So that's kind of the colorful plan. I don't think I really need to pop the other one up, but that just gives you, if someone wanted more data on anything what the rigs are running, I have that.
Just a quick
Yep, go
question.
ahead.
So on all of these, if you're getting new, any of the new things don't fit, or which type of equipment doesn't fit in our current?
Right now, it's just the ladder truck wouldn't fit.
Okay.
There's no ladder truck on the market because of standards, they're too high. So that's the biggest thing. The height is a big thing. What we were worried about coming into the last couple of years, under the old administration, federal administration, there was a lot of push with environmental concerns. They put a stop to a lot of the changes in the motors for over-the-road trucks, which then affects us, which is, I don't want to say it's good because it's probably not as efficient, environmentally clean. But that was our big concern going into last year, is if these, and the manufacturers, this came from the manufacturers, if we have to put bigger motors in there or different cooling, different things to make them cleaner, that's going to increase your cab width and your cab height. So that was our biggest, so that's why one of the reasons why we were starting to really focus on purchasing a tanker coming up, because we didn't know where that size was going to go. We cannot fit. We didn't want the tanker not to fit in the firehouse. The pumpers are pretty close right now. They're still using the same, but even I think with the stop on the environmental right now has helped us here in New Canaan because of the motors are still the same motors we currently have.
Right.
So that doesn't increase our cab size. We can still buy the same cab. The ladder's the only one. It's been a couple of years, and it's not so much. There's some good ladders out there. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Darien, right on the Post Road, Norotan. They got a very nice ladder. It's short. It's runs under 10 feet. Travel height. Fits under a lot of bridges. The problem is, again, it doesn't back into our firehouse because of the road grade and our front apron. It comes up on an angle, which there's no way they can fix.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Tiger engineer look at the road grade numerous times. Last year, I had Bill Osman do a study in the firehouse, an engineering study, for the width mostly. Can I take out the center columns of the doors so I can get just 2 big doors instead of 4 little ones? Can't, because then it lowers the door, top of the door a little more. So we've been doing our due diligence to see what combinations do we have.
So I have an odd question. So the back of the fire truck downstairs, the lower level, if you built something, an add-on, because I'm thinking about the police station had an add-on that they built on. If you built something on the backside where you had it taller that you could back into,
That's
that was
something
just an add-on.
Right. We did not explore that. But that was brought up. Our problem with that, and again, without really looking into it more, we still have to park a lot of cars. We had 16 cars jammed in our parking lot just 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I wish I would have taken a picture. I mean,
Yeah.
the parking lot was literally, I should have. It was at total capacity with our callback personnel and our volunteer company members.
Right. Our career staff comes in at 7 a.m. They park over, a lot of them park over in Locust, so no one's there yet.
Yeah,
When you get a fire at 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
that lot's full.
nobody can park anywhere.
Okay, interesting.
So, and again, you got to remember how we run. We went from 6 on duty this morning at 7 o'clock to then when we have 16 of our people there with callback and the volunteers.
Right.
Now we have a whole bunch of cars that need to park to get into fire trucks to respond.
And it's a dance too, because some of the apparatus is still in the lower.
Yeah, we
bay.
have
So We have
apparatus.
to make sure that we don't block it with the cars that are coming back to staff the rigs.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging.
Yeah, that's
So many moving parts.
Again, no, we
Yeah.
did not go that far because I don't know where we would have to look into parking.
Right.
Upwards of 24 cars, at any
And the
given
turning
time.
and the turning out of there to get up to Main Street also would be.
Yeah, the turns,
extraordinarily challenging.
yeah, right now, the way we're,
Yeah.
to turn onto Main
With
and
a
going up
larger
O and
piece
O,
of apparatus to make that 180-degree turn would be
that's tough.
difficult.
Right now, the current setup now, that's why everyone like, oh, can you put the tanker downstairs? Most of our water runs are up O and O with that tanker. Probably 50-50 up O and O or down to Smith Ridge. So that turn coming out, the tanker can't make that turn. So it would have to go south on Locust, adding to the response time on the top of O and O onus and all that. They would have to.
Yeah.
So that's those are some of the challenges coming out of the lower bay. What an engine does, an engine could they make it does make that turnaround. So
It's tricky.
yes.
It's tricky.
Anything else I can answer for? I could go back to the 5-year if you so desire, just to finish that up. And feel free to reach out to me in the next 48, 72 hours to if anything was unclear. And if you want to see anything more on the calls that it's that we're running and the data on the apparatus. So how many miles are doing engine and all that stuff that's in there. I have a whole spreadsheet if you do want to see that. But you can see here is where we are. Just under 1.2 for the capital request for 27. You can see in 28, I do request that start the project on the pumper replacement. I know it doesn't sound, unfortunately, that money has to be allocated. We only spent half of what we asked for so far on the pumper that's due in this year because our vendor didn't ask for money until the spring. So it was sitting there, unfortunately, but that's just government accounting, right? The money has to be there. So that's the downside. I wish I could tell you, well, we're not paying for it for 3 more years, which buys us time, but I don't think that's how the accounting works. And you can see that next year I'll be, again, we're going to put in a grant, but you can see that 75, 175 for our whole complement of rescue tools. and some replacement stuff, for structural collapse and trench responses and stuff, just to have a bare minimum that we need for that. So that's what that.
When you talk about this, is it a state grant that you would be applying for?
Federal, the
A federal grant.
assistance to
Okay.
firefighters grant. So far we put in 2 years, I think 2 years or maybe 3 that we've been putting in for it. We've been on the cusp every year, but we didn't make that final cut. And those were, some big asks. We thought we had a really good shot. And unfortunately, there's probably more depressed communities that got that. The ladder truck refurb in 29. So that is, hanging out there again, just again, that needs to happen. It's, when we pull that trigger, if it's 29 or 30, then we can have further discussion as we get better where we are with the other apparatus. Then we'll know. Yes.
Just so you know, for the budget meeting when we have it, the budget book that we have today shows a different dates.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, Nick. How do you want me to approach that? Do I?
No, that's fine. It happens all the time. We have, we get a presentation from whoever's presenting and has more up-to-date figures than the budget book, which is several weeks old because the Board of Selectmen went through it. So I would just print out these things here and present it and point it out to the board that, hey, the assumptions, because I know you talk about this every year, right? Because you give projections, you go, well, at that time, you need a ladder truck, you need a pumper, whatever. So we are prepared mentally, and now things shifted. So it's just the explanation. Why did it shift? For whatever reason, so people know.
Okay. Yeah, and that came out of Board of Selectmen when the board asked us, can you put that replacement plan down? Is where we really said we need to start working on that pumper next year. The sooner the better. If I could, that 1.5 and 28 was the reason why, because to get it into that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what we might say, earlier you said you do it. The answer will likely be, it depends. So once we've done with all the budgets and say, okay, what's the total capital ask for all departments? And, I'm sure Todd will want to cut some if it's too much.
Right.
And we can tell, is there room or there isn't room? But at the same time, we don't want to push everything and kick the can down the road,
Right. Okay. So that's that was the presentation, but I did really want to go through that apparatus plan and, put it out there with that other station, just that we need to start thinking about something, moving forward, both for responses and starting to house some of our assets because we're outgrowing.
Okay.
So I'll field any other questions.
I'm good.
So this big, capital ask for replacing an apparatus, is it like every year?
Again, go back to that. It won't, right now unfortunately, when things were good and then apparatus got started coming in together because of different reasons, either delays in delivery. So,
because everything is aging at some
right.
point.
But again, what we're trying to do, and a lot of us won't be here when you really look at this plan. When you look at a 30-year keep of an apparatus, and we only have 7 of them, right? What's that? Every 4 years, in theory, you should be buying. Mm-hmm. If we could get to that, it would be every 4 years. The problem is how stuff was bought, money became available, and stuff got put together very close. And it's, some are getting, and we're looking at the money wise. Now we're looking at how we're running the apparatus. So unfortunately, it's just the nature of the way that the department has grown over 25 to 30 years. Some of those apparatus didn't get the mileage on them that they should. Mm-hmm. So they're at 30 years old and there's not a lot of mileage, but there's a lot of problems with them.
Yeah.
Right. So right now, our first and second due pieces, when I came in 4 years ago, I started looking at the information coming in. The mileage on I came in 21, so we had an 8-year-old 8-year-old piece of apparatus that's running as backup, sitting, not running a lot, and our newest engine was taking all the calls. So myself and a guy who's a lieutenant that's handling our apparatus kind of oversight with us, I went to him, we went to a couple mechanics, and we said, let's run them 50% of the time. So we're still switching. One day, a 2013 apparatus, right now it's getting worked on, but the summertime engine 1 runs first due. So we want to build the miles up on that and leave the newest one. The newest one actually is backup at that point. So it's not getting the mileage, it's not getting the workload. And then in the wintertime, they switch. So we're doing that until one engine hits 50,000 miles. And then, okay, now you're going to be true backup, which now helps us now with this. You're not looking at an apparatus and say, well, this truck only has 8,000 miles on it because it only ran first due for 2 years, the way the old system used to work. And then it went into back. So we're not just looking at, okay, we just need replacement. We're trying to get what we can out of the apparatus, as we put that together and how we want to do that. And one of our thoughts is with that mini pumper, I mean, it's a vision, but we might not need to maintain that third pumper, which means there might be a better resale value on it at 20 years than it would be at 30 years. So that could be, we might be able to, right now, if we tried to sell either one of our pumpers, you're probably going to get $20,000 for scrap, for each one of them. But I could maybe get a well-maintained pumper, $125,000 for that in a resale, for a department. So that's a thought. We didn't look into it yet, but those are, or we start, if it's, another thing is, as the maintenance has improved, we start pushing them out. Maybe it's a 12-year replacement cycle versus 10, or we finally push it to that 15 that NFPA says you got to take them off front line. So, but that, until we could get that good data that's saying, okay, the maintenance is really working here, we could push that out a little further. So we're not opposed to that. It's just going what's looking like it's where it's fitting into the mix now. We definitely want to get more out of the money that we're spending. There's no question about it. I mean, there's no complaints coming. The complaints are coming from the breakdowns. Nobody's complaining that it's not bright and shiny anymore. That's not the complaints we're getting.
Yeah.
We're getting those complaints because things are happening at that 8, 10, 12 years that are pretty major. And it's like, I don't like sitting in town without a tanker.
Right.
When that tanker's out for 6 months because it has a major tank reef and then next year it goes out for the radiator. That's where the reefer hopefully takes care of all that. And now we're good for a number of years. We get another 8 to 10 out of it before we see some of those.
You just can't mess around with maintenance. I mean, you have to.
Like we were saying, on this end, it would be like airplane maintenance.
Yeah.
On this end, it would be a work truck, right?
Yeah.
And we're maybe not quite at an airplane, but we're definitely not a work truck. So we need them to be, number one is reliable.
Mhm.
So that's what we're trying to achieve.
And trucks today there's so many safety checks, and to keep firefighters safe, it puts a lot more strain on the apparatus and the motors. There's no such thing as a fire truck motor. It's the same motor that a dump truck is running up and down. And it's unfortunately ours don't run like that. It's sitting in the firehouse reasonably cold. We run it to the call, we come back, and it's just the nature of the fire service, and everybody knows that, but there's nothing that the engine manufacturer can do to fix our response.
Our rigs run sprints, not distance.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're designed basically to be like a marathon runner.
Right.
Our rigs basically just sit. Okay,
And then
starting gun
gotta
goes
go.
off. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
That's-
you hear
that's where we
a
have
dump
problems.
truck going 1,000,000 miles, it's like, oh man, how's that? Yeah, it goes 1,000,000 miles, but it's running, the way it runs, and it's only loaded half the time. We're loaded full capacity 100% of the time. We always have 750 gallons of water. So the trucks take a strain on every call that goes on.
Right. I wanted to ask you about that is it Community
Community
Connect? Why are so few people signed up?
That's
Well,
just,
because
yeah.
because does it help your response time, obviously? If you
No, it
know,
won't
or
really
no?
help response
So
time.
how does it help?
It just helps us,
Know where you're.
so we
Yeah.
get there, like I'll get some people, like I said, a little or a lot. Some people put some good information in there. They tell us where their hidey key is. So we go to a 5,000 square foot house that we can't see everything at night from the front yard. The keys, they'll tell us where the hidey key is. They'll tell us the alarm code in there. So that's where there's a huge benefit. It still took us 10 minutes to get there,
Mhm.
but when we get there, we can get in, we can look around, we can make sure that an attic that we can't see, that there's no smoke in it. So that's the benefit of it.
Location of pets.
Pets,
That's a big one.
yeah.
Pets are
Yeah,
home,
that's
right?
what a lot
But
of people.
The biggest one is probably, you would say, the gate code.
Yeah, gate.
I mean,
Oh,
the
that's
gate,
huge.
and that's been an issue for us because I mean it's a beautiful community, but we show up to some of these gates and
You can't get in.
Right.
get
So if we
in.
have that sent to our mobile data to our MDT, we would be able then to
Right.
get in quicker. So that would help, I guess, in that regard with
Yeah.
response because we
Yeah,
wouldn't have to
that'll,
then
yeah,
be
'cause
delayed
we
by the
wouldn't be
gate.
on scene until you see the house.
Yeah,
So that would help that response. Gate.
yeah, definitely.
And
Right.
how has that information been requested? Is that like,
We've just through different, fire marshal puts it out a lot. Like a press release is going out after the fire today, which I always end with the paragraph. Community Connect. This house wasn't owned by a resident yet, so it's a contractor owned it. So it's really,
Yeah.
but most of put something in there and people see it. Like so, after a fire, I'll usually get half a dozen new people will sign up.
The holiday
have,
stroll.
have
was
you
a big
thought
one.
about
We ended up-
having Deanna put it in her?
Oh, we
like-
did. Yeah, it's been in there. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay.
oh no, we've hit a lot of dip. So we're just trying to now. It's just targeting, trying to get as much out there as possible and getting people to sign up.
Okay.
People are still nervous. They. I get it.
It's
Well,
securing. It's
personal
privacy.
Security.
Yeah.
It's security. That's
yeah.
why we say it. If just put. We're happy if you put something in there that says, "My name is this. This is the phone number to get a hold of me." Because we go to calls and a neighbor calls in and hey, your shed just burned down.
Yeah.
And it's like you might want to know. And just getting that contact information is as little as possible.
Yeah,
That's
that would help.
yeah,
And are
definitely.
people sharing water access to their pools too? And
We
those
have a
handle
couple.
that?
Yeah, we have a couple.
Okay.
That's the fire marshal and I have been working on that, trying to think of ways to enhance the use of pools when we do get a building department request, if we can tap in it. Actually, Louise's Lane, we had a fire in November. We took 1,500 gallons out of somebody's pool.
Oh, that's good.
They were very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
They didn't want the water
And it
back,
really
but
helped, yeah.
Yeah.
It really helped.
that would be like the phone call Monday morning, next day. It's like, you need us to call and get water. I mean, that's the cost of doing business. No, they were good. They were like, no, we're good.
That's nice.
They were good neighbors, yep.
Yeah.
That's great. That was a great one.
Yeah.
And that's not something we would go and take the water and drive 4 miles away and dump it somewhere else. That's going to be used on your street, your neighbors.
Right.
Any pool is
Yeah.
just, really within the lay of a fire truck to another house. So
Really
it's only a couple
benefited the
hundred feet
operation.
from the other house.
Hmm.
So
Right.
trying. We're doing, trying to enhance that water supply, doing much better.
A lot
So
of these houses up north, especially like these tight driveways. I mean,
and
How do you,
streets, you
like-
should have saw
yeah.
the one today.
how do you
Very,
there?
We had to
It's
slow,
like crazy.
when you look at decisions, it's like, the iPad was telling us one thing. It's like, okay, we can lay our hose down the street. We pulled in the street and it
Yeah.
was narrow.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
like, do
yeah.
not put the hose in the street. So we
Yeah,
had to delay the
okay, yeah.
water coming down because we needed to get people in first and then the water came down the street. So
Okay.
yeah, it
That
was,
makes sense.
a lot of decisions in the first 90 seconds.
Sure. Yeah.
But also a
Breaker.
testament to our, operators,
Yeah.
our drivers. I mean,
Right.
they're great.
World class, getting the rigs in, getting them into position and under stress, building,
Yeah.
showing a ton of smoke
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
figuring out the complexities of the water supply. It's a lot. It's a lot. The
A lot
water
of
supply
moving parts.
problems here,
Yeah.
I come from New York. We had hydrants. We were very fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
It almost becomes an emergency within an emergency, like coming up with just the water supply plan to provide that.
Yeah.
So, and our members just do a really dynamite
Yeah.
job.
They know where the hydrants, hydrants, especially the dry,
Very
what we call
knowledgeable.
dry hydrant. They know that they check them every year. So they know there's one in the woods right behind that, and they find it, and they know where to go with
Their
it.
knowledge
So,
of response area is
Yeah.
great.
yeah.
All right, great.
Really.
Nick, any more questions? Anybody else?
I have to unmute. I'm good, thank you.
Right.
All right. I knew it was going to take some time. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy the weekend. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
I'm available for any
Thank
phone
you.
calls,
Nice
any
to meet you.
follow up,
Nice to meet
whatever.
you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I gotta get some.